All right, testing, testing. Loading in, loading in. How is everybody doing? Gonna lower the volume just a little bit. And now we're gonna make sure everything's synced. And then we're just gonna hang out to the song ends. Warm up, you know. Get those fryers going. First test YouTube. Looks like YouTube is synced. And I think volume's good, so that's good on that one. Next, but not, not least. Doing great. How are you? I am doing very well. I hope you're doing well as well. Next is Twitch. And let's see. Yep, Twitch is synced up. Volume is good, thank you. And last but not least, Kick. Alright. I think Kick is doing well. Yep, everything is synced up so far. Let's see, it's very... Looking at that real quick, you can't really read too well. Caster Labs, the multi-chat that I used today, it crashed overall, just a whole site-wide crash, so it's very interesting what they can kind of get away with and what they can't, you know? Let's see. I'm just going to do one quick type test. So that's good, that's good. And it should have came through... Okay, there we go. It came through all three. So that's great. Good feeling, good feeling. I'm just going to delete that message because no one needs to see that on Kick. Alright. How is everybody doing? Average stream bitrate too high. We're going to lower it just a little bit, so there's no lag for everyone to enjoy. We are going to go to... We're going to go a cool 7,000. We're going to lower it a little bit. That should help all the other streaming platforms, maybe. Okay, that doesn't make Twitch happy. Oh well. You know what? Twitch isn't the priority anyway. It's YouTube at the end of the day. So, got some news to announce today. Pretty excited. I guess I'll lower the music. It'll be like super, super quiet for a little bit. Except it's still loud for me, but oh well. So, if you caught yesterday's stream, I did the Xbox Live Showcase, or Xbox Game Showcase, I should say. And then I did the... We're not going to listen to music anymore. That's just distracting me. So I did the Xbox Showcase and then the Summer Games Showcase. And now I just need to get ahead on shorts. Maybe that's what I'll do Friday, if I decided to take the day off or not. But hopefully the goal is at least for sure one video a day. And then maybe if I'm lucky, each stream I'll be able to do 2 videos. So that's kind of the goal overall. So expect that tomorrow. I don't know if I want to space it out, so I got to decide that. Maybe I'll make a poll about it if you guys want 1 video a day or 2. But if I do, I think... Let me check what time I have it scheduled. I think 12 and 4 are the times that I set, which I think is... I mean, posting time doesn't matter that much, but it's still good to get feedback. My analytics say 9 a.m. or another time, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that shouldn't matter too much, so. And let's see, what else? Tomorrow's going to be a busy day. Got some yard work to do, so just touch-ups here and there, but still work regardless. What else? Night Rain. So I did originally have the stream set to do both, but one of the videos that I'm going to be watching and reacting to is about an hour long, and then the other is around 40 minutes. And the goal is, if I'm using a video to react to at least maybe double the length or add enough substance to it. Just 1 second. That's the wrong spelling, but oh well. And also, I don't know if you can tell, I dressed for the occasion today. It's kind of more of a blue theme. And I have this light on, and hopefully we won't need to turn on the fan. It's not 90 degrees, which is super duper nice. It's finally starting to cool off where we are. And yeah, I'm just it's gonna be a little different this stream because I've always played a game so far, but I don't know if I want to do it half and half, like two or three streams where I play video games, and then like two to react, or maybe do like a tier list or something like that. Let's see. Stream's current bit rate is lower than the recommended. That's crazy. Now it says excellent. Crazy, crazy times. That should fix itself. And yeah, hopefully everything still looks good, and it's time to be an anime channel again for a little bit, right? So that's always important. And yes, night rain. So hopefully, probably tomorrow, we'll be finishing the base night rain. I don't know if I'll do any challenges or anything like that. And yeah, without further ado, we're just gonna kind of jump into the video, as long as the audio bitrate is fine. As long as the okay. So wait, so I'm confused. Do you just have wallpapers of anime on my wall? Actually, it's from a YouTube series called Otaku Versus. Well, and then that's Azure Lane, so that's a video game tapestry. So none are actual, official anime tapestries. But I recommend checking out Otaku Versus on YouTube. It's their own original series. Actually, though, I do have two things I can show, or maybe three. So just 1 second. I haven't found a spot to. Well, I don't know if you can hear me. I haven't found a spot to hang them up yet. So we got Kill la Kill, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 3, and then Evangelion. So I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. I just got to find a spot for it. No, Kill la Kill is also good. Or what would you recommend then, if we're already starting with these hot takes? Part 5, probably. Gundam? Gundam is good. Let's see, for JoJo's Part 5 is probably visually the best, but season-wise, I would say probably season 3, overall was the best. Then it kind of just gets, well, we'll see how Part 7 is. I think that's the next part, so. Yeah, what's your top anime? And then we'll see if it makes it on the list of the video we're going to watch today. All right, big anticipation. And while you're getting your reply ready, I will get the video loaded up. And let's see, I'd say probably my top 3 Vinland Saga. What else? I guess I can look at my list. It's been a while. But Vinland Saga for sure. Delicious Dungeon was really good. And what else? I can't believe it logged me out of my anime list. That's crazy. There we go. Profile. Yu Yu Hakusho. Ghost Files. Only the dub version. Okay. And then Afro Samurai. And Hunter x Hunter. All right, you got some good tastes. You redeemed yourself. I'm surprised then you wouldn't like something like Kill la Kill, or what do you think of Gurren Lagann? We'll just go through my top anime real quick. Fair enough, to each their own. There we go. Score. Fate series is good. Yeah, there's lots of good animes out there. All right. So without further ado, we're now going to be watching Mother's Basement. Best anime of all time first, and then worst anime of all time. So, go subscribe to his channel and watch his main stuff too. Give credit where credit is due. And hopefully the volume is good. If not, just let me know, and I have no problem adjusting it or anything like that. And I'm going to be pausing the video and just not watching it all the way through and giving my 2 cents about it.
10 years is a long time to be doing anything, but for the last decade, I've had the incredible fortune to be doing my favorite thing: analyzing, gushing over, roasting, and recommending anime for you fine folks at home. Yet somehow, in all that time, I've never just sat down and laid out my picks for the best anime ever. I've talked favorites, shows that changed me personally, and even the best of one specific genre that I've definitely seen too much of. But
probably isekai.
The greatest of all time? I always felt like I just hadn't seen enough to definitively make that kind of call. After a decade of watching anime like it is literally my job, though, I've realized I probably never will. There's just too much, and I was simply using that impossible standard as an excuse to avoid laying my cards on the table and facing ultimate judgment for my ultimate tastes. No longer. There's never been a better time. I've been at this 10 years, absorbing great anime and honing my critical faculties, and after all of that, plus a lifetime of fandom before it, these are the 10 greatest anime that I have ever had the pleasure of watching on television or a...
Okay, so this isn't just a definitive list, this is his opinion, which makes sense, of course. So with that, I guess we can kind of judge his list as it goes down. And knowing him, I've watched, not for 10 years, but I've watched his channel, so definitely probably at least 1 or 2 isekais are going to be on here.
Simulcast streaming platform. OVAs and movies? We'll get to some other time. But first, we've been doing this 10 years now, so you know the drill. It's time for a word from our sponsor, Goddess of Victory Nikkei.
All right. Appreciate the channel, but we do not need a sponsor. Okay.
To this list, and I think it's only fitting to start playing, get 160 free pulls, and dive into your new gaming obsession today. But now it's time for me to dive into this list, and I think it's only fitting to start the same way I started this channel.
Okay. I've never seen Baccano, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. I still have to go give it a watch.
I first brought home my Baccano Thin Pack from Indigo Books in the summer of 2009. It instantly shot up to the top of my all-time favorite list and became my go-to pick for every subsequent anime night with the bros. In all my 16 years of life, I had never seen anything even remotely as cool as this supernatural gangland action romp, and even after spending twice that long on this planet, watching at least 50 times as many anime, and replacing almost every other entry in my favorites twice over, it's still on the list. I know I said this wouldn't just be a video about my personal faves, and trust me, it's not, But I do think that staying power speaks to an essential quality at the heart of Baccano, or rather, many essential qualities layered on top of each other. Makoto Yoshimori's bombastic big band jazz soundtrack sets the tone and time period perfectly, while art director Akira Ito brings Ryogo Narita's quirky vision of 1930s New York to vibrantly realized and well-researched life. Also, director Takahiro Omori can fill it with some of the goriest, most bloody, awesome deaths in all of anime.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think the whole point of the series is it's like, I think however many episodes, and each is a standalone, trying to get back to the first episode, and they're all like interconnected, whatever, how many stories all go back to one.
Not all of which stick, no matter how sticky they might be. Then, Tyler Walker's meticulously researched, slang-laden script and masterfully directed accent-heavy dub complete the spell, molding all those quintessentially Japanese components into an immersively authentic American period piece. Inarguably one of the greatest works of localization in animation history. But the original Japanese screenwriter, Noboru Takagi, performed an even more magical act of transformation. See, Baccano is a very good series of light novels, an unconventional epic spanning years and eventually centuries, as it follows the exploits of various immortals who've integrated themselves into the American public, and in particular, its mafia.
I've also heard that for even a lot of, I guess, purist would be the word I would use here, where people are like, only sub, I only watch anime in sub. A lot of them who heard this dub are like, this is one of the only series that the dub is better. So it could very well be just because it's all placed in America.
Saga jumps back and forth between different time periods and character perspectives from book to book, but the books themselves are basically linear. Brain's-Base's anime, on the other hand, takes the building blocks of the first 3 volumes and jumbles them up, rebuilding them into a complex, non-linear narrative maze in the vein of Memento, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and especially Snatch. The OP alone is a testament to that particular influence. It does this with a brilliant reframing device, showing the plot through the eyes of 2 eccentric journalists working to unravel a tangled web of interconnected events and characters long after the fact, almost any one of whom could be the protagonist depending on the angle their article takes. And so each episode shows us a different angle on those events, gradually revealing what makes each of these charmingly quirky goons tick and why exactly some of them won't stop ticking, no matter how much lead ends up in their diet. And the way that this slow drip feed of information keeps you hooked from episode to episode, keeps you guessing as to who's up to what and what's gonna happen next, or before in some cases, is so effective, it's honestly hard to believe the story wasn't always meant to be told that way. The rest of the production is plenty impressive too, and of course it wouldn't work at all if the original characters from the light novels weren't already so damn compelling and entertaining, and Isaac and Miria, holy, what, just the greatest. But
so I also want to just interrupt real quick, but a lot of other, let's say, big Anitubers, all of them, this is kind of what they put on a top 10 list. So if it's that good, I'm, probably really do have to think of giving it a try and a watch.
in terms of pure screenwriting flexes, Baccano is one of the most brilliant adaptations ever penned, if not the most. A must-watch for anyone who enjoys puzzles or mysteries, especially with a spot of the old ultra-violence. On that.
But I'm surprised if it's so popular, or maybe it is only one of those anime that's more popular in America than in Japan, because if it is a light novel series, I wonder why the rest of it didn't get adapted.
That note.
Full Metal Alchemist.
I agree with this one. It's also hard, even if you look at my anime list or something like that. I view this as the gateway anime, either version really.
world where anyone with a stick of chalk, a steady hand, and a mind for math can tear anything down to its base atoms and rebuild it as they see fit, you can kind of see how some young science whiz kids might let that power go to their heads a bit. Maybe start thinking the only reason that all their textbooks keep saying, "Do not, under any circumstances, do alchemy on human bodies," is because no one as smart as them has tried yet.
And also, I mean, it showed in the little title card he made, but in 2000, yeah, it came out in 2003, and 22 years later, people are still referencing it and talking about it and making memes about it. And I think the live action movies just finished too, or that might have been Rurouni Kenshin, but yeah, it is lots of fond memories with this show. Very good show overall.
So when their mom comes down with a bad case of anime mom disease while dad's out getting milk for 3 years, they think, hey, what's the worst that can happen? Thus, chastened for their hubris, the brothers Elric make a solemn vow to only ever do alchemy on human bodies one more time, but live ones this time, specifically their own, in order to get them back. And they're not taking any chances. After studying up to join the state alchemists, researchers granted vast resources in exchange for serving their nation in times of war, which is a lot of times, because
I'm not entirely sure, but I think there were talks of them remastering the show and doing it again. But I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read or heard that somewhere recently.
Said nation is a wee bit fashy. They set out to unlock the secrets of the Philosopher's Stone, a mystical elixir said to bypass all limits of alchemy, not yet realizing that the truth will shake them and the entire world to the core. Watching the masterfully designed domino chain of clues and revelations that Hiromu Arakawa laid out across her original manga collapse into each other might just shake you to your core as well.
And this was also back in the day when watching anime, they would basically adapt it while the manga was still going out. And that's why there's Full Metal Alchemist 2003 and Brotherhood, because 2003 the series finished before the manga was done. But they got the creator to kind of make a makeshift ending until Brotherhood came out, which is why they redid it.
To this day, I hold FMA up as the gold standard for how to construct a satisfying, long-form epic fantasy plot and tie it all together at the end with a neat little bow.
I would say Full Metal Alchemist, Death Note, and Code Geass are like three, especially in the early 2000s, quintessential anime you should watch.
But it's not just an epic fantasy, it's also a shonen power fantasy, and Full Metal Alchemist equally excels in that regard. Alchemy is one of, if not the most ingenious power system in all of shonen.
I think Hunter x Hunter and One Piece still has that beat, but it was very creative.
With easy to understand rules that clearly define what it can and can't do, a
True.
ton of potential for inventive animation, and an underlying elegance to the concept that excites the imagination endlessly. But it's not just great for those reasons.
Also, openings are bangers. I mean, still great music as well. It was really early 2000. I still think is the golden age of anime.
It's also a philosophically rich world-building premise that predicates FMA's entire setting and story on the zero-sum principle of equivalent exchange.
True.
The idea that mankind can never gain something without sacrificing something of equal value in return, also that the entire rest of the series can then thoroughly deconstruct that assumption and reconstruct it into a potent argument for the multiplicative power of mutual cooperation.
In those days, we really believed that to be the world's one and only truth.
And in that spirit, as you may have surmised from the title card, I'm ranking both Full Metal Alchemist anime together in this spot, because
both are equally as good, and in some ways, I actually prefer 2003 over Brotherhood, but I know that's probably more of a weird take, but I thought both were great. I mean, they got the voice actors for the same series twice, and say what you want about the guy who voiced Ed, but I still like them and I still enjoy the series. And I was actually thinking about rewatching it too, because it's been like 8, 9 years.
I don't believe that either one of them is truly complete without the other.
True.
Obviously, the 2003 version lacks that incredible ending and most of the equally masterful journey that leads up to it, as by the time it hit the air, Bones only had like 19 episodes worth of monthly manga story to work with in their 51 episode show. But 2009's Brotherhood reboot was likewise made with the expectation that its viewers would be fans of that original anime, because it was a huge hit that kind of single-handedly saved Bones from going under back in the day, and everyone really loved it. And so
It's also the studio that, I mean, like he was saying, became big names like My Hero Academia, I think Fairy Tail, a bunch of other super popular anime after this.
its rush to recap everything from the original anime up to the split, Brotherhood ends up utterly fumbling some of the most important early arcs, undermining powerful moments of horror and tragedy, and straight up neglecting to introduce a pretty important recurring character.
And I think 2003 was a lot darker as well, if I remember correctly. And the ending, even though knowing the ending of Brotherhood, the ending of 2003 wasn't bad either, because there was a tie-in movie after that, which kind of satisfied, and in a lot of ways, looped back around to how Brotherhood 1 would end, essentially.
Original series just does a much better job of getting you acquainted with its characters and world, and if I'm being honest, it does a better job of sucking me into that world too, with its atmospheric use of color and mood lighting, and its more cinematic approach to animation and storyboarding. Brotherhood is certainly much more visually accurate to the style of the manga, but that doesn't necessarily make it better as an anime, though undeniably, it's got some pretty incredible Sakuga moments. And on top of
And for those who don't know, Sakuga is just another word for like high class or high tier Japanese animation.
that, while the anime original answers O3 comes up with to Arakawa's mysteries are obviously nowhere near as perfectly, elegantly satisfying as what Brotherhood would ultimately deliver, the twists still absolutely rip and make an impressive amount of sense given what they had to work with back then. Plus, the way O3 is structured to set up those twists and answers with filler episodes long before the split point in the story makes them feel like integral parts of the show instead of just something they pulled out of their ass as soon as they ran out of manga.
Again, that was also because they had the creator working side by side, essentially, which I mean still happens to this day. I mean, what was the manhwa that just came out? Be the Beginning or whatever. I mean, there's, or even One Piece still has Oda at least overseeing the episode, so that hasn't changed over the course of 20 years or so.
Anime original endings go, it's just about the best to ever do it. And I think everyone would have been pretty well satisfied with the original FMA if Brotherhood's plot hadn't turned out to be so damn perfect. I honestly don't know if I'll ever sort my feelings out as to which FMA is definitively better. I'd probably need to make a whole other video and rewatch both of them just to figure it out. But regardless, they both can stand confidently, especially beside each other, among the best anime ever. And I know that's gonna frustrate some folks who see Brotherhood especially as overrated after the decade and a half it's spent atop the MAL rankings, but sorry, it is simply the nature of goats to dominate.
It's truly, again, the gateway anime. Then probably Death Note, Cowboy Bebop. And when I say gateway anime, it's definitely an anime where I could show anybody and a person to take it seriously and not, oh, this is just like crazy stupid stuff. This is also probably, I think, let me check something real quick. I made a video a long time ago. I'm just checking if it's still up, of my or greatest anime to watch before the world ends. So I just want to check to see if that's still there. Because if that's the case, Yep, it is still there. So real quick, I have Ping Pong the animation there, all the way on the left. So I'm just saying, when you read the description of this video, I'm not Mother Basement level anime expert, but I like to think I at least know a little bit of what I'm talking about. So there is that. We'll see what he says when he says the worst animes of all time, but so far, I can't really complain too much about this list. Everything seems pretty legit so far.
All the way from Planet Ping Pong.
Sports anime tend to tell inspirational, hype-generating stories about self-improvement, teamwork, and camaraderie.
But I will say, animation art direction-wise, Ping Pong is the coolest looking sports anime. But I think the best sports anime is Hajime no Ippo. But this is also a really good anime.
Giving your all for the love of the game. Even in the downer moments where our heroes stand defeated, it's usually because the other guys worked even harder or maybe cheated a little. And in darker stories where they give too much of themselves and face injury or self-annihilation for their efforts, there's still almost always a sense that on some level it was worth it, that their sacrifice meant something. Ping Pong the animation is not that anime.
I also think these guys worked on the Devilman Crybaby series, but I could be wrong, but it is a very similar animation style.
About how some guys can give everything they have and more to something they love and get absolutely nothing in return. About how some people are simply born so good they can squander their talents for years just kind of messing around and still walk all over those other guys after just a few months of effort. It speaks to the indescribable euphoria of reaching the absolute pinnacle of human excellence with your own two hands and then says, sorry, bud, that's not for you.
That Ping Pong with the match with that bald guy, the dragon or whatever, that was some crazy cool animation.
Doesn't matter how bad you want it, life's just not fair.
But I would say this anime is, for a sports anime, it's kind of the artistic, what's the word I'm looking for? It's if you're a big artsy fan, Ping Pong, the animation is for you.
Match goes to Hoshino.
Which certainly doesn't mean don't do what you love, but rather do it because you love it. Don't get hung up on where you think maybe you can go. Learn to enjoy the journey there. Other sports anime sell a fun fantasy that can get you out of bed in the morning, but Ping Pong shows us how to live in our own harsh reality after we're up and moving.
And to be honest, it is, I mean, not the prettiest anime to watch. It's more of a realistic style. So it is a little rough to get used to if you're not used to that type, you know?
It's a captivatingly beautiful portrayal of some very ugly truths about life. And the animation style reflects that brilliantly. Deeply unflattering caricatures rendered in rough, raw line art, squashing and stretching, acting and emoting with little regard for realism or the comfort of the viewer. It would be a very difficult anime to
Yeah, that
look
guy
at
was super cool.
if it weren't so hard to look away from. For every movement is packed with explosive, expressive energy. Every shot composed with the eye of a virtuoso. With Masaaki Yuasa's masterful storyboarding, every scene of every episode of Ping Pong makes me want to throw my hands up Scorsese style. And it's more
I wouldn't say absolute cinema, but it is very
more
good.
than merely cinematic. By fully leaning into the strengths of digital animation, breaking away from the traditionally entrenched analog view of what anime is supposed to look like. Yuasa and his cohort at Tatsunoko Production and the newly founded Science Saru gave us a manga come alive, the faded, sketchy characters fitting right into a world inseparable from the paper it's drawn on, while the shots that tell their story split themselves into panels in real time. Art director Americ Kevin flexing the experimental muscles he'd one day use to help shape the looks of Spider-Verse and Arcane. And I know...
Also haven't seen Arcane. I don't know if that's worth it, but a lot of people also enjoy that as well.
I just got through saying that accurately emulating a manga doesn't always make for a better anime, but that's
True.
Not quite what Yuasa's doing here. He's blending the strengths of the two mediums, co-opting visual language from the source material and combining it with cinematic grammar to tell a story in a way that's only possible with animation. I think if, say, Chainsaw Man had taken a similar approach instead of going all in on production values and cinematic direction, its anime could have been as transcendental as...
I mean, speaking of Chainsaw Man, the movie's coming out, I think, this October.
The original manga, instead of merely being very, very good. Which brings us to our obligatory Shonen Jump thing.
Jujutsu Kaisen, while great animation-wise, especially in the Tokyo Disaster or Tokyo District arc, I think it's just a poor Bleach knockoff. But I understand with just how popular it is why it would be on this list. But I would not put this, I don't think, even in my top 20.
4 years and 1 week ago, I declared Jujutsu Kaisen to be peak shonen anime. And many a time since then, I've been asked if I still stand by that statement. Here's your answer. Yes, even though I've read all of Hunter x Hunter since then, and even though the manga had kind of a weak epilogue after it got done running one of the craziest final battles in genre history for an entire straight year. Because we're not talking...
I will say I haven't read the manga, so that might change my opinion, but maybe I'm just the type of person, if it's too super popular, I'm not interested in it.
Talking about manga today, but even if we were, it'd still be top 10 easy. I mean, it's got 2 of my top 3 shonen arcs of all time, right below Chimera Ant, and both of them were recently adapted into the most insanely gorgeous single season of battle anime goodness arguably ever.
I think that's the only reason why people how do I want to word this? I think the reason why Jujutsu Kaisen is so popular is because it has a super amazing art style. If it was made 10, 20 years ago with kind of like a maybe Naruto level animation or like a Dragon Ball, it wouldn't be nearly as popular. But because it was released at the right time, everybody loves it.
Arguable, because I know that some folks out there prefer the polished digital compositing look of Ufotables.
I also think Demon Slayer is overrated, but I can't deny the animation is beautiful, but Fate series is better.
Stuff, but if we're talking just pure animation excellence, JJK Season 2 alone has more cuts up on Sakugaboru than all 4 seasons of Demon Slayer combined.
I guess the question is really, what makes the greatest anime for you? Is it animation? Is it story? Is it the characters? I mean, is it just the feelings you get while watching it? That's the real question of the day.
Shibuya Incident is just fight after fight after fight, where the choreography, camera work, character acting, music, sound design, and script are all firing on more cylinders than anyone thought would even fit in the engine.
And it was peak, but again, not 10 out of 10. I'd say a solid 7 or 8. Still really good, but overhyped.
hurtling around a roller coaster track of crazy plot twists, devastating gut punches, and flashes of insane hype that burn all the brighter for the darkness that surrounds them as it puts its heroes through the ringer to end all ringers. And that's the weaker part of the season, coming on the tail end of hidden inventory, premature death, a profoundly moving coming-of-age tragedy conveyed through surreal, dreamlike direction and production values consistently on par with animated feature films, which
I actually still like the Shibuya incident a lot better, but that was just me.
is actually going to be re-released as a feature film at the end of this month and will almost certainly top the Japanese box office for the year after it does, because it's the extra super duper yaoi part of JJK, and Fujo bucks make the shonen battle world go round. Director Shota Goshizono had a lot to prove stepping in to fill the shoes of WebGen Wonderkun Sung-Hoo Park for this second season, and he filled them with unrivaled vigor, holding the ship together through reportedly the most turbulent production in Studio Mappa's history, and refusing to let his work ride on the quality of the source material alone.
And I mean, with Studio Mappa in general, they've been known, or there's lots of controversy surrounding it. They did the final season of Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, and Jujutsu Kaisen all around the same time. So, I mean, that's also another thing to keep in mind, I guess, when watching shows, if you care about how the staff are treated or the people who actually work on it.
Gege Akutami does also deserve quite a lot of credit for how well this adaptation's turned out so far. In author notes and Q&As, he frequently admits to envisioning the series as an anime first, composing his pages with an eye for how they'll ultimately be animated. Think of how the Choso bathroom brawl came preloaded with reference material from the raid, and structuring his fights and arcs with episodes, seasons, and the occasional movie in mind, building around natural breakpoints to make the screenwriter's job easier. Gege's scene-oriented storytelling also comes part and parcel with a show-don't-tell approach to plot and character development that makes this anime immensely rewarding to rewatch and analyze, revealing hidden depth and nuance in almost every interaction, combat, or conversation for anyone who cares to look. And hey, if you like navel-gazing anime that make you think about stuff, we got more where that came from.
Yeah, because that is definitely not Jujutsu Kaisen, but now we're talking. Now this is truly a top 10.
Neon Genesis Evangelion was a dream project born from a nightmare. Coming off the back of Nadia's Secret of Blue Water, one of the most titanic production disasters in the history of the anime industry, Hideaki Anno, prodigy of the otaku generation, protege of the OG GOAT, fell into a deep, years-long depression. But he got the chance to claw his way back out when an executive from King Records handed him and Studio Gainax an unprecedented opportunity.
But also, apparently, while working on it, though, he hated himself and he hated his life and he wanted to end it. But finally, after finishing it, I guess those feelings slowly went away until he started working on the Rebuild movies, and then it came back. So he doesn't really want anything to do with this series anymore, which is why he's getting into Godzilla and Gundam.
An open time slot to do with as they pleased. Anno got to work building a world and story drawing from his biggest inspirations, approaching the fantastical giant magic guy versus alien kaiju dynamics of Ultraman and old school super robot shows with the immersive sci-fi realism of Gundam and Macross.
He also did, I think it's called Moomin Rider as well, which was also a somewhat recent movie. But his most recent work, I think, is that new Gundam series out now.
Blending in the existential bleakness of Space Runaway Ideon, the apocalyptic tone and
Spear of Longitis,
Devilman, the skin-tight battle suits of Super Sentai, but like way hornier, the futurist set design of 2001: A Space Odyssey, but like way hornier, ideas and imagery from basically every anime Anno himself had ever worked on, and dozens more references, homages, and thematic riffs aside. But it wasn't just Anno's interests that got poured into this new anime. It was also his own trauma. Drawing on Freudian psychology, he patterned the core trio of Asuka, Shinji, and Rei on his own id, ego, and superego, and very intentionally built every other character in the core cast from bits and pieces of himself and the people he knew. And
I gotta pull something up real quick. But if you've ever watched the series and want to understand it more, there's another great YouTube channel. Just 1 second. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Dun 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 dun. Here we go. So the channel is Timberwolf Studios. So he does a super breakdown of essentially each episode and then each character's act throughout the series. Highly recommend.
as the project progressed, he kept writing and rewriting scripts right up to the last deadline for basically every episode, leaning further away from the epic story of big robots beating up aliens as it went on, and
Also going bankrupt at least 2 or 3 times, and maybe money laundering, if I remember correctly. But they were doing some crazy stuff over at Gynax.
deeper into his own psychology through a decidedly Jungian exploration of the collective unconscious, culminating in a finale set inside the author insert hero's own fucked up head that brilliantly recontextualizes reused animation as his own memories confronting him, breaking the characters down to the point we start seeing them from the other side of their animation cells.
これは僕だ僕を他人に見せている形これもみんな僕を表すものに過ぎない
To watch Ava and its film sequels is to be a fly on the wall at the single most expensive and extravagant art therapy session in human history. Witnessing breakdowns and breakthroughs in real time as a generational genius grapples with the paralysis of depression, the way his otaku passions both define and confine him, his complicated relationship with his abusive father, our paradoxical and universal needs for mutual recognition and self-definition, and how they tie into our shared innate drive towards self-annihilation, plus a whole fuckload of sexual hang-ups, ultimately arriving at the answer that he's simply got to learn to love himself. But that's gonna take a while, so maybe we should pick this up again in a year or two, and then maybe go over it from the beginning in a decade or so. And
You know, it was still good, the Rebuild movies. I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth watching, only if you're a fan. I guess a diehard fan.
every couple years after that, but it looks like he was feeling sad again, so he took a bit of a walk, went to his cool senpai's place to play with toy planes for a bit.
For those who don't know, that is Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli.
Made a
Great Godzilla movie as well.
Godzilla, and now, oh, look at the time. It's 9 years later. Whoops. But turns out, going outside, spending time with your friends and hot wife, pretty good for you. So, more of that, less animating, maybe no more animating. Gonna go make a Kamen Rider now. And
Kamen Rider, not Moomin Rider, my bad.
more than all the dense layers of deep-cut nerd passion and even deeper-cut Christian lore, it's this raw, painfully honest, introspective side of Evangelion that makes it so endlessly, enduringly compelling. In the modern age of industrial consumer art, you just don't see shows getting made that are this brilliantly directed, this immaculately polished, this boldly experimental, and this far up their own ass.
And I would also say, kind of how Jujutsu Kaisen couldn't be made back in the day. I think this is one of the series that definitely could not be made today. I don't think people would really give this a chance or really enjoy it that much.
And I mean that as the highest possible compliment. The purpose of art is to express the things deep inside us that words alone cannot describe. And Evangelion does that with style and panache and unrivaled mastery of analog animation as a medium, and the second coolest giant robots ever. As for the first, though...
I mean, this was probably one of the first true anime I fell in love with. Big Gurren Lagann fan.
Neon Genesis Evangelion and Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann are two sides of the same coin, and not
Same or a lot of people who worked on Evangelion went to work on or maybe this was Studio Gainax, which then turned to Studio Trigger. Either way, huge fan of both works.
just because they're both lavishly produced super robot throwbacks with made-up words in their titles about kids with confidence issues fighting cosmic horrors, directed by Gainax's two most iconic, enduring, and horny ex-employees. Eva demonstrates what's possible artistically and cinematically when an entire multi-million-dollar anime production pipeline submits wholeheartedly to the vision and whims of a singular auteur, whereas Gurren shows us what can be done by a team with similar creative freedom working independently toward a shared vision, each artist believing wholeheartedly in the director who believes in them. Hiroyuki Imaishi conceived the Gurren project as a narrative-driven animation showcase that would give industry veterans and newbies alike a chance to flex and experiment, similar to Gainax's beloved and groundbreaking OVA Fooly Cooly.
Another great series, but Gurren Lagann, it could have been made 20 years ago, and it could be made 20 years from now. It is still a great story.
But way, way bigger. The biggest ever. The result is an anime every bit as dense as Evangelion, but
There was also, if you've heard of another channel called Death Battle, they just did one where it was Gurren Lagann versus the White Lantern. And, you know, not going to spoil anything, but
in a less thinky, more feely sort of way. A show that's abnormally inconsistent from episode to episode, scene to scene, and even shot to shot, as each animator and director leaves their own distinct creative stamp on their piece of the greater whole. Layers upon layers of artists building on and around each other's interpretations and ideas with a light but firm directorial touch, ensuring that it all fits together, not quite seamlessly, but cohesively. The seams themselves becoming their own beautiful part of the bigger picture.
also there's movies after the series as well, which kind of repackages if you didn't like how the animation looked in the TV series. That takes it up even more than what they did in that.
I honestly think the toughest part of pulling this whole list together was choosing where to rank Imaishi's work relative to Anno's. They're both equally accomplished artists, but with such vastly different approaches that it feels almost impossible to compare. One characterized by meticulously thoughtful introspection that
I would say Evangelion is for the thinker, and then probably Gurren Lagann is for the bros. Let's see. Well, I'll definitely think about hitting you up on Discord at a later date. Thank you very much.
invites endless analysis and essay writing, while the other embodies a wild, intangible, indescribable energy permeating everything he touches. I also struggled with whether to pick this or Cyberpunk Edgerunners to represent Imaishi's oeuvre.
Edgerunners is also a legitimately great series, again, made by Studio Trigger, who also did BNA and Promare. So, and Delicious Dungeon. Great studio. All of them. I'm a Trigger head, so.
Because on top of being the greatest video game adaptation ever made, and it's not even close,
So true. Very true.
that anime anime's basically perfect, a masterfully orchestrated tragedy comprising 10 straight 10 out of 10 episodes. And Gurren does have at least that many 10s too, but it's also got a few 9s and maybe even an 8 or 2. So how can I possibly justify choosing something I admit is uneven and flawed over near perfection? Because Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann teaches us we can always reach higher, always be better, always become more.
As far as animes that impacted me, let's say the most in my life, I'm not a big crier, but I cried at the end of Gurren Lagann and then another one, Mob Psycho. So completely understand. Great series.
Drive to improve is baked into our very DNA and the fabric of the cosmos itself. And so long as we have each other's backs and fight like hell to leave the world better than we found it, it is inevitable that humanity will surpass any limitations set before us.
Wait, I got something to show. To show you how much I enjoy Gurren Lagann. Let's see how it shows up on the camera. I have the drill as a keychain. Maybe that's better. I've had it for years, and then, even though it's faded, I have the scissor from Kill la Kill. It used to be red. And I've had that for, actually probably 9 years.
Even so-called perfection. If there was ever
And I even had a Gurren Lagann wallet, and then I switched it for a Dragon Ball Super wallet.
an 11 out of 10 television finale, it is not Gurren Lagann's climax, because that shit's a 15. Bro smashed an entire galaxy.
Oh, I gotta rewind it. Oops. Only professionals here, remember.
And fabric of the drive to improve is baked into our very DNA and the fabric of the cosmos itself. And so long as we have each other's backs and fight like hell to leave the world better than we found it, it is inevitable that humanity will surpass any limitations set before us, even so-called perfection. If there was ever an 11 out of 10 television finale, it is not Gurren Lagann's climax, because that shit's a 15. Bro smashed an entire galaxy over the embodiment of pessimism's face. And as I made that choice, I also realized I'm simply too based and faith in humanity pilled to rank Gurren below Eva. Evangelion has a well-earned...
I wouldn't also probably judge his list too harshly. That each of these is... It's kind of the problem with 10 out of 10s. If it was a truly like 10 out of 10 list, it would be super hard to rank really anything that you're passionate about, at least in my opinion. So I'm not necessarily, maybe at the end, just to be a little fun, I'll rank his top 10 to what I would put it, but yeah, it's definitely hard to do that.
Reputation is the sad smart man's anime. Spawner of essays, gazer at walls. While it's all too easy to write Gurren off as simple, dumb fun. But there's nothing simple about making something this fun, especially when it's also packed with so much emotional texture and even tragedy and hardship. And as for dumb, sure, it took a lot of very smart people to get us into space, but we never would have gotten there if we weren't also too stupid to stop trying. Just look what happens when we're too smart to start.
You know, talk about overhype anime. As far as romance goes, I mean, I think I finished the first season. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think this is as great as everyone says it is.
In the student council chambers of Japan's most prestigious private academy,
And then, oh my gosh, when this came out, that the Chica dance was everywhere.
war is raging. President Miyuki Shirogane and Vice President Kaguya Shinomiya are genius elites among the elites, for whom the idea of dating their lessers is unfathomable. Each of them might just consider giving the other the honor of a date or two, though, but only if they ask first. For confessing one's own feelings is an act of submission utterly beneath these intellectual titans. Definitely not just because they're scared of being rejected. Definitely.
It's just a will they, won't they for like 4 seasons.
Stuck at an impassable
Well,
stalemate.
I guess to be fair, that's any romance show, but I mean, you know, there's better ones out there.
They must each use their incredible mental faculties to trick the other into revealing their hidden feelings in a series of saucy mind games that make L and Light Yagami look simple-minded and romantically incompatible. Kaguya-sama Love is War is an utterly hilarious rom-com built.
And I just realized if he's ranking it top 10, he's ranked this above Gurren Lagann, Evangelion, Jujutsu Kaisen, Fullmetal. That is crazy.
Around genuinely complex and strategically fascinating social contests, which only makes the joke funnier. As we reach the only rom-com on this list, and a seinen one to boot, I know some of you will be disappointed.
For those who don't know, seinen is just adult, and then shonen is kids or teenager, or specifically male demographic is shonen, and then shoujo is female demographic.
To note that there aren't any shoujo or josei on here, and you can pretty much directly blame Kaguya for that. See, I set myself a rule to only do one anime per director for the sake of variety, and Mamoru Hatakeyama also happened to direct the best josei I've ever seen, Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, which is also completely goated, but if you put a gun to my head and tell me I can only pick one, obviously I'm choosing the one that inspired me to write an entire feature-length movie about how good it is, and I'm not going to apologize for that.
That is crazy. I didn't know that, but I mean, I guess he's a huge fan of it, right? It is his video and channel after all.
Most of that movie does fixate on Aka Akasaka's genius character writing over any of the strengths of the anime adaptation, but don't take that as any kind of knock against its quality. Here and in Rakugo, Hatakeyama has proven himself to be a master of economical storyboarding, both in the sense that his extremely theatrical shot compositions do a lot of narrative heavy lifting, and that he's really good at squeezing every last yen out of his production budget. In Rakugo, that meant carefully curating high-detail close-ups and evocative still shots to build atmosphere and immerse us in each spoken-word story, as well as the headspaces of the characters, precisely calculating every moment of motion for maximal cinematic impact. In Kaguya, it means all of that too, but also using every tool at his disposal, digital and traditional alike, and every clever cost-cutting measure he learned in the trenches at Studio Shaft to sell the ever-loving crap out of every last gag.
I will say the art style is nice, and probably another reason why people like this one is because there are just tons of references to various different medias as well.
The original manga was already incredibly funny, but between his direction, the performances of the characters, and the narrator, the anime is utterly hysterical. More than one episode had me laughing so hard I damn near asphyxiated.
Hold on a second. No one will disturb us for 3 hours, and Shinomiya will forget whatever happens? Why have I been given this overly convenient chance to be a scumbag?
The adaptation script is also top-notch in a way that almost mirrors Baccano, taking the scattershot narrative of the source material, structured as a series of isolated episodic gag chapters where we're expected to infer that more story and character development has happened.
He had me in like the first 5 or 6, but he is losing me near the end. it is. I don't think it is nearly that deep as he's making it.
happened off screen between the jokes and rearranging it into a more straightforwardly coherent plot, one better suited to a 12-episode full-length series than a short weekly manga. This has the benefit of making the hidden depths of the characters a bit more obvious and accessible early on without giving too much away, but more importantly, it allows the romance to advance at a much faster clip, making it clear from the get-go that despite Kaguya and Miyuki's obstinate posturing, this whole thing is actually going somewhere. The central question is never will they, won't they, but when will they, and also what's taking them so long. The extremely long answer to the latter question makes for a deeply compelling character study and social commentary. See that movie I made for more details. And as for the former, when they finally do, the payoff and aftermath are every bit as emotionally cathartic as they are bust-a-gut hilarious. And the movie makes for a pitch-perfect epilogue to that arc. Besides,
Is the series finished then? I thought it was still going on, but I had no idea that there was a movie. So maybe I can't make any promises, but I might give it a watch to see if it's worth it if he's gushing about it so much.
maybe Fruits Basket, which is an absolute masterpiece of a manga, but whose adaptation is sadly just a little bit lacking in sauce. There is not a single more satisfying love story in all of anime.
Simply not true, but you know.
Though a few of Kaguya's own side stories do come impressively close. We will need to see season 4 for the world at large to fully appreciate just how good Best Girl Ishigami really is, but even if the adaptation never gets there, Kaguya-sama has already cemented its place at the absolute peak of anime ROMs and coms, and especially the conjunction of the two. But while conquering genres is certainly impressive, it's another thing entirely when a work becomes a new genre itself.
Okay, Cowboy Bebop, super awesome. Loved it so much, I refused to watch the live action just because, again, this is one of your gateway anime, and it's influenced even Western culture, be it movies like or TV series like Firefly, like Outlaw Star did. I mean, genre defying. Great music. Iconic.
Bebop arrived at just the right time in anime history, when computers were coming into use to enhance anime productions, but hadn't yet supplanted the analog processes the industry had spent the last 4 decades refining. When studios network...
And that's kind of the only downsides, I think, to modern animation, is people had to work with what they had. And I mean, just the fact that it's not, and I understand it's completely hard to do, but it's not all hand drawn, as in, like, they have to use the physical paints and colors and everything, like they did. I mean, eventually one day, if I make it big, I want to collect, I think they're called stills, which is the actual page or frames. That's the word I'm looking for, that they used. So, I mean, it's just, they don't make them like they used to.
And producers were willing to take big risks on original IP, even without a toy license to back it up, in hopes of a massive Evangelion-esque payout, when Sunrise and Bandai specifically had plenty of cash to splash around thanks to the Gundam spin-off renaissance ushered in by Mobile Fighter and Wing. On top of that, its 2-core season order hit that perfect 26-episode sweet spot.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is like, it's not based on a manga or anything like that. It's its own original idea and series. I could be wrong though.
Long enough to tell a more involved story, but short enough for each individual episode to get some real love on the production side. If there has ever been a more consistently beautiful example of traditionally cel-animated television than Bebop, I have yet to see it, and trust me, I have been looking. And
also, just kind of an interesting fact, but it's, and okay, this is going to sound completely crazy, but there's an artist named Freddie Dredd, and because of Cowboy Bebop, there was an A&B made of his song called Cha Cha, and that's what helped blow him up. So without that, I mean, this rapper wouldn't have a career. So just kind of an interesting little tidbit.
With what Cowboy Bebop aims to accomplish, that polish really matters.
Same also with Suicide Boys and Darling in the Franks. Another huge popular A&B made a song about it, and then it helped boost their career.
Not just because, ooh, pretty pictures or, the vibes, but because every extra background detail and spaceship cockpit greeble makes its world feel that little bit more real and lived in, while every subtle flourish of character animation makes it feel more alive. This isn't some epic space opera about legendary galactic heroes changing the fates of whole planets with their mighty deeds. It's space jazz, a song of everyday people and their everyday struggles to get by in a big, scary, expensive solar system that couldn't care less if they live or die.
And if you really like Cowboy Bebop, there's another series the director made called Space Dandy that combines basically what Samurai Champloo was and Cowboy Bebop and combined it into one on a space epic.
Heroes aren't heroes at all, just bounty hunters aiming to cash in on the desperation and misfortune of folks even worse off than them. A crew of amoral crooks inspired by the iconic cast of Lupin III, who managed to become every bit as iconic as their inspirations in their own slightly lame ways. Spike Spiegel is the raddest guy you can possibly imagine cooking stale cup ramen on a hot plate, while Faye Valentine is the kind of life-ruining mistake every man dreams of making one day. Each of them is running from their past and toward a murky future, making plenty of stops along the way to catch crooks, avert terrorist plots, play mind games with hackers, get blasted on hallucinogens, and fend off killer clowns and deadly lunch meat in episodic improvisational riffs on genre, tone, and theme.
Which I think for the time too, that was not only just quite unique in TV, but quite unique in anime, where it was not one, like each episode didn't just directly relate, they were all independent.
Series director Shinichiro Watanabe spent the first decade of his career working on other people's ideas and quietly filing his own away for the day he'd finally get to spearhead his own project. And when that chance did come, he poured everything he had into this thing. No two episodes of Cowboy Bebop are alike, not even the handful of poignantly heavy ones that carry the main story's weight, but each and every one of them is uniquely excellent. From action to romance, horror to comedy, kung fu cinema to film noir, the show switches gears seamlessly without ever missing a beat. But even more striking than Watanabe's versatility as a director is his style. Yoko Kanno's music infuses every moment of Bebop's action as Spike, Jet, Faye, and Ed play ship consoles and computer keyboards like instruments, paint pyrotechnic trails across the inky starscape, and dance their way through street fights and shootouts, always a few frantic steps behind their quarry.
And the animation still stands up after all this time, which just shows, even back then, with time and dedication, a lot of people can accomplish great things.
Syncopated energy that permeates all of Watanabe's work is, I feel deeply in my soul, what animation is fundamentally all about. It takes something real special to top that.
I'm confused. Who is Srim?
Let's be real, y'all knew this was coming. I have gushed about ReZero over multiple hours worth of video essay, plus the top 10 of a whole other top 10 list where I hailed it as the greatest isekai of all time.
I wouldn't say it's the greatest isekai of all time, but it's definitely top 5. I still think Mizuko Tensei is pretty good. I think believe it or not, the overly cautious hero is extremely cautious, or however that is. And then, You know, maybe Sword Art Online. It was truly genre defining. I'm sure there's another isekai that's slipping my mind that could be better, but ReZero is definitely up there and good.
And most recently, I turned a critique of Solo Leveling into a stealth ReZero glazing sesh. I glazed this show at every opportunity, and now I'm gonna glaze it some more.
I haven't finished it, but I think I've watched either the start of the second part of season 2. I've definitely, I've gotten maybe 2/3 to halfway through the series so far, and I enjoyed it. I just never finished it because of all the delays it had.
ReZero's story is built on a rock-solid conceptual foundation. A brilliantly executed time loop gimmick sure to please anyone who's ever theory-crafted after watching Groundhog Day, which feeds into brutally effective horror of both the psychological and blood and guts everywhere variety, which in turn serves as the foundation of a savage critique of nerd-oriented power fantasies and male entitlement, although it never lets that fully get in the way of it also being a really clever and fun time loop power fantasy. But ReZero's greatest strength, as an anime at least, is that the people doing the animating clearly adore the source material and are fully committed to doing it justice at all costs.
And I think they made a statement that they are completing it all the way through. Like they've dedicated their basically their production to finishing this series.
It's one of the slowest rolling adaptations I've ever seen in my anime watching career. Only 3 seasons in exactly the same amount of time it's taken My Hero Academia to drop 7, plus 4 movies, and now 1 spin-off. And that's definitely not for lack of demand. Most figure and merch stores over here in Japan have a dedicated REM section, not a ReZero section. I mean, they have that too, but there is a separate, just as big section that is just REM. If they
Overrated, but to each their own.
wanted to, they could be shoveling this shit out and raking money in at record speeds. But White Fox has taken the time to do every season so far right, with feature-length premieres setting the stage for each arc, over-length episodes that run into their own ad time just to give important plot and character beats the room they need to breathe, and top-tier key animators bringing their A-game to every key scene. It's a legit
Yeah, to whichever studio is working on it, I mean, it's always been consistent no matter the delay. So I think, let me look when it first came out. Okay, so it came out in 2016, and since then, I mean, so what? For 9 years, and it's only gotten better, and it still pretty much looks the same, if that makes any sense. I mean, they have not altered their course, is what I'm trying to say.
When an adaptation can pull something of this caliber off for 1 season, let alone 3 in a row, and full-length seasons no less, which are also fully necessary to doing an epic fantasy tale like this justice. The characters need that time to really live in the world, or die horribly over and over again in the world, as the case may be. The villains and monsters need that time to build themselves up as the properly horrifying, world-shaking threats that they truly are. And of course, it also gives...
I definitely finished that part with the whale, and maybe a little bit after that.
us time to get immersed and invested in the lore, the magic, the mysteries, the politics, everything that makes Lagunica feel so real. But it's not just the top tier world building that sets ReZero apart from damn near every other isekai and fantasy anime period. It's all of the incredible characters who inhabit that world, possessed of depth and dimensionality to rival the courts and keeps of Westeros.
And even all the light novels and spin-offs are super, super popular. It's just for some reason it's taking them a long time to finish this adaptation.
Depth that is fully necessary to make the story work at all, as Subaru's differing actions in each new time loop force everyone around him to show new facets of their personalities in response, always consistent with who they are at their core. One episode of the first season that is widely considered to be peak television is just two characters having a really good conversation. And I honestly believe that if you set up a similar scenario with Subaru or Amelia and literally any other member of the cast...
Yeah, so I got to, I think his name's Garfield, like right before, so maybe season 2, I don't know. Either right before the battle with Garfield or during, like, that's when I stopped watching.
It would also be peak TV. Through the royal selection at the heart of its main plot, ReZero establishes over a dozen candidates, knights, and attendants who all feel like the fully realized heroes of their own complete stories, some quite a bit more impressive than Subaru. And in a slick narrative flourish, while this is something that initially makes him feel very emasculated and weak, as our protagonist grows, confronts his insecurities, and overcomes his inadequacies, not only does he learn to be friends with all those guys, he finds the self-confidence to step back and share the spotlight or even give it up altogether.
But I think, at least when I watched it, he never really got stronger, he just got smarter, which always made the show more interesting.
Mainly to Amelia, who fully graduates from damsel to deuteragonist by the end of season 2, but in the latest season, everyone gets a chance to shine in emotional character moments, key plot beats, and in battle against the most delightfully hateable pack of villains in a show that already had the best villains in anime from the very first episode.
I also wouldn't agree with that, but I think ReZero is probably like a top 15, top 20 show. I'll have to finish it, and maybe when I finish season 2 and 3, I might be gushing just as much as he is.
No hesitation, I'd let her kill me. I'd really let her kill me. And her? Honestly, letting her kill me sounds like a mercy compared to the horrors, but even if it wasn't, just... right in the guts, please, ma'am. And if light novel readers are to be believed, all of this has nothing on what's in store for the 4th season, which might just push ReZero to the tippy top of this list if true. But we're not ranking this list on the potential of the adaptation.
Fair enough.
What matters is the anime that's out already. And as of now, I have only seen one other show with a better 3-season run than this, which we'll get to in just a moment. But first, I'd like to shine a spotlight on some honorable mentions, too many to actually mention out loud, but I'll keep them playing behind me as I address what I'm sure will be the most common criticism of this video, at least from anime old heads, who are gonna look at my list and these clips scrolling by, see basically nothing made before I was born, and cry, recency bias, you don't know ball, watch more classic anime, whippersnapper, and some tokusatsu while you're at it.
There's Ippo.
Counter, first, half of all the anime in existence were made in the last decade or so, and like 85% of them came out after 1990. Plus,
I would, actually that's pretty fair, because otherwise you have, I think the 80s is when it really started true, like anime, like Battleship Yamamoto, Gundam, Voltron, even the Transformers, and then stuff like that. So he's not too crazy to say that, unless you want to watch like Hello Kitty or it was something The Lion or whatever. That's another old anime.
it is the nature of art to improve over time as creators learn from each other, so the odds are heavily skewed toward anyone's favorites and the best anime in general being more recent. And second, you're absolutely right. I have not watched enough great old anime, or enough great new anime for that matter, even after a decade of doing this for a living, which is something I'd really like to change. And that's That's why I'm starting up a new podcast, Quest for the Best, with my best buds, Tristan and
Good for
Miles,
him.
where every week we're going to check out and talk about a new contender for the top 100 greatest anime of all time, as nominated by one of us, or you guys at home sometimes, or our guests, if and when we have guests. You might know Tristan better as the AniTube OG Arcata of Glass Reflection and Podtaku fame, while Miles
Definitely knew him from Podtaku, who he was with Giguk, and Giguk went to do Trash Taste.
is an industry veteran who spearheaded the Anime Awards, Crunchyroll Expo, and a
Well, one of my lights just turned off. That was weird. Say his name 3 times or something. Huh. Weird. Spooky.
whole lot of other cool stuff back when Crunchyroll actually cared about the anime community. But
True.
more importantly, they're both my favorite guys to hang out and talk anime with, and now you get to hang out with us while we're talking anime every week for free. What a deal! The first episode, in which we talk about Freerun, is already out at the link in the doobly.
The newest gateway anime of all time that has beat Full Metal Alchemist off its pedestal.
So when you're done here, go give that a
I think just in one season, if I remember correctly.
watch and subscribe to Quest for the Best on YouTube or your podcast and platform of choice. But no matter how long that podcast runs for, it is gonna take a hell of a lot to unseat my top pick.
So I know I referenced it earlier on. Mob Psycho was one of the series that made me cry. It might be blasphemous to say it isn't in my top 10, even though I haven't finished season 3. It's just kind of, or even started it for that matter. It's just one of those shows that, you know, when you really enjoy something and then you don't want to watch it because then you know it's over. That's Mob Psycho for me. So completely understand why it would be in a number 1.
I named Mob Psycho 100 my all-time favorite anime 6 years ago, right after season 2 ended with an absolutely insane psychic battle, rivaled only by all the other absolutely insane psychic battles in like every other episode leading up to it. To this day,
I can't remember what else was coming out at around that time. Let me check. It was a crazy year for animation. When did Mob Psycho season 2 come out? 2019. Animes in 2019. I feel like there was tons of bangers. We had Promare. We had Fate. Let's see. I can pull that up now. Made in Abyss season 2. More Konosuba. Okay, maybe not. Maybe that's why it stood out. I feel like there's other like really great. Maybe I'm wrong. Never mind. But I know season 2 was hype.
Don't
It was
really
crazy.
know if the best fight of 2019 is Mob versus Mogami, Mob versus Suzuki, or everyone taking on Shimazaki. But the show actually cemented its place in my heart long before any of those, at the very start of the season.
It's what got, even though I've let myself go, originally, I think when it first came out, there was the Fitness Improvement Club and Mob Psycho, and that's what originally started to get me to working out and improving myself around that time.
The achingly beautiful moment where Mob uses his powers to miraculously piece back together the torn and scattered dream of a girl who was just trying to bully him. And the thing that makes all of those fights so special isn't the masterful storyboarding, the heart-racing score of Kenji Kawai, or the breathtaking action Sakuga that punctuates every punch and side blast and teleport and vine whip. I mean, it is also that stuff. Man, that stuff is cool. I love that stuff. But more than that, I love how Mob approaches every one of his enemies, no matter how malicious, with empathy and understanding.
I mean, the core of Mob Psycho is if everybody's special, nobody's special, you know?
how he strives to use insanely cool and beautifully animated supernatural violence only as a means of opening dialogue, because he believes in his heart of hearts that everyone can change. And even though Mob is awkward and timid and capable of throwing an entire city block at a guy just by thinking about it, he wants to change into someone who can use his words, like the man he admires most. The man who almost single-handedly got this incredible anime made, because before he even thought about any of those cool fights, Yuzuru Tachikawa, creator of Death Parade and one of the most acclaimed—
Oh, I didn't know that. He made another great series, Death Parade.
Anime directors working today felt an irresistible compulsion to animate Reigen Arataka's face when Mob tells him he's a really good guy. Hardcore otaku love to theorycraft about our dream anime adaptations, the perfect director or studio for the perfect source material. You know, Studio Bind's Berserk, Shinichiro Watanabe's Kagurabachi, Yoshiaki Kawajiri's Frank Herbert's Dune, hypothetically ideal anime productions that could never happen in real life, except Mob actually did. The best work of the best writer in the manga space today. A story so good it legitimately changed my life, helmed by a genius director who absolutely, unequivocally gets it. A man—
But yet, for his other series, the creator, I think, of Mob Psycho, I think he goes by Mob, or maybe One, did One Punch Man, and for some reason, first season was great of One Punch Man, and there is a season 3 announcement, but for some reason, Mob Psycho got all the love, and then One Punch Man just kind of fell flat.
Who understands how to turn the most potent emotional turning point of the series into a 13 out of 10 episode, the finale of each season into an 11, and
Hype
every
moment.
other episode besides into a certified 10. Backed by one of the only studios that could ever consistently execute on that vision, which may confuse the folks at home who think the show falls off a little when it's too focused on comedy and not being about Claw, but those people don't get it. Mob Psycho 100 isn't a plot-driven shonen battle anime. It's the world's funniest and sometimes saddest slice of life comedy, which just happens to occasionally be interrupted by shonen battles and terrorist attacks sometime. I can see where the confusion comes from, since every one of those battles is executed with a similar level of polish to the hypest moments of JJK, One Punch Man, and Hiroaka combined, even when it's just Mob beaten on jobbers. But that comes alongside slapstick animation to rival Kaguya-sama and Nichijou, tearjerker—
Okay, Nichijou, way funnier than Kaguya-sama, way funnier than One Punch Man. Mob Psycho, it did have its funny moments, but I always just viewed it, I wouldn't say as a slice of life, but that is a good way of putting it. Again, just really, really good show.
moments on the same level as Anohana and Orb, and just for good measure, spooky supernatural elements that manage to simultaneously feel genuinely unsettling and still fit that cartoony art style through the ingenious application of mixed media paint-on-glass animation, which I think technically makes this the last traditionally animated thing to ever air on television. That is how hard they went with this show. And while the core plot may not be quite as elegant and compelling a mystery box as, say, FMA, the way it ties together every last one of those genres and ties up every last character's arc in its finale is an even more impressive writing flex in my book. Also, it's got the 3 greatest anime openings ever, like hands down.
Definitely top 3 greatest anime openings of all time. All great bangers. I can't remember the band's name, Mob Choir maybe, but all great songs, both in English and Japanese.
And y'all know how I feel about OPs. Mob Psycho 100 is simply the best anime in every way and on every level. And if you disagree, that's cool. Tell me your top 10 in the comments. Before you go, though, I need to say thank you to Haruhi, naturally. To my dad for being my biggest fan right up to the end. My mom.
Shout out to your family. Love you, Dad. Love your mom. It's great that he's doing this too. Who knows where I'll be in 10 years, you know? Only time will tell. Will I still be doing it? I guess we'll only have to find out.
For use of the basement, and the friends and family who were there for us when we needed it most. To Trey, Adam, Nyes, Jab, Zach, Dylan, Kennedy, Flip, Lachlan, Daniel, Ava, and Mitch for using your editing skills to bring my words to life as videos over the years. To Aaron for being an amazing friend and even better artist. To Maylene, Dominic, Rie, Corey, Connor, Adele, and everyone else at Geeks Plus who's helped make our dream of living in Japan possible. To Matt, Steph, and the whole Game Theory team for giving me a place to hone my writing skills and the utterly invaluable advice that got me where I am today. To the ANN, Metal Gear Marathon, Shonen Flop, One Piece podcast, and Dog Zone 9000 crews for all the good conversations over the years. To Lee for making me believe I could do this, and Steve for giving me no other choice. To Dan and Carrie, Derek and Grace for being great friends and inspirations. Liam, Matt, Wooly, and Pat for making sure I could never stop doing this. John, I couldn't ask for a better shonen rival. To CJ, Ellie, Reagan, Sterling, Jono, Johnny, Monty, Dan, Evan, Matt, Chris, Jake, Keita, Scott, Curtis, Lanny, Izzy, Mac, Shane, George, Austin, Cole, Sungwon, Mike, Bryant, Kevin, Garnt, Sid, Baron, Dakota, Holden, Aaron, Kayla, Jacob, Raina, Brennan, Momoka, Sheena, Feek, Josh, Kate, Emily, Manu, Terrence, Gita, Harry, Casey, Isla, and everyone else who was the real Mother's Basement we made along the way.
That's super sweet. It's really touching to see him. You don't really see that too much where he is truly, at least I believe, thanking everyone who's impacted, because unless you do something like this, I kind of believe that you are putting yourself out there, and you put a little piece of you out there, even if it is something just like reacting or whatever. It takes a lot, and it's hard sometimes. So it's really touching that he hasn't forgotten where he's come from, and he's been doing it for 10 years. So I wonder if I can pull up the first video of his I've watched. Man, I'm getting a little emotional. I didn't think that would affect me, but that is very sweet. I am subscribed as well. It's just the subscribe plus. I've been watching for years and years and years. Let's see. Definitely. Maybe I have been watching all this time. 10 years ago. Actually, I could legitimately have been watching this whole time. We're on year 7. It is crazy how much he's done. We'll see how many videos he's done as well. Okay. So, I haven't been watching for 10 years, but I definitely started watching when he got probably 2016 best animes. I've definitely seen Light Novel versus Anime Spice and Wolf. I wouldn't say I was a consistent each episode watcher, but definitely when he started to do the frames, I've been watching ever since. So great that he's made it this far.
Sadie for bringing me all my Brazilian fans, and of course to you for watching this video and all the other ones. To everyone who's ever left a like or comment or hit that sub button over the years. To everyone in chat, and also a sorry I don't stream more often. To everyone who's ever come up to say hi at a con. Everyone in the Discord and the Phantom Thieves who keep them in line. And especially to all the patrons who've given me not just your eyeballs and kind words, but your precious cold hard cash over the years. This wouldn't have been possible without all of you. But most importantly, I have to thank Yazzie, the best girl to end all best girls.
That's
for
sweet
pushing
too.
me through the tough times and making the good ones all the better. For making me laugh so hard I can't breathe and taking my breath away in so many other ways. And for being with me through nearly every step of this crazy journey. I'm Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out.
Okay, whoop, didn't mean to click on that. That was a great video. We're quickly going to go over probably where I would rate his top 10. So Give me one quick second. So he had Bakuno, I think. Yep. Okay, so Bakuno, haven't seen, so that's going to stay at... Actually, this is stupid. I'm not going to do that. Basically, if I had to take... I'll do his top 3. Mob Psycho would definitely be up there. Then probably Evangelion would be number... still probably number 1, actually. So Mob Psycho number 2, and then Gurren Lagann number 3. So with that out of the way, with all the happy, good feelings, now we're going to see what he rates as the worst anime of all time. And you know what? I hope I did him justice. I'm still kind of new to this reaction stuff, and I did an hour and 40 minutes on a 58-minute video, so I almost doubled it. So it could be transform. No, that's 41 minutes. So an hour. I almost doubled an hour. That's not bad. So we will see the worst anime of all time. And if I had to think of the worst anime of all time, sorry, Dad, I know you enjoy it, but it would have to be like Yakitori or what was the other one? Mako My Day. Those are like 2 awful, awful animes. So I know he has X-Arms here, 7 Deadly Sins, Promised Neverland, all major letdowns. So let's see how this goes.
10 years is a long time to be doing anything.
True.
For you. Can it, Freerin? You're not even in this video. Good thing, too, because while I stole this joke from a comment on my best of all time list, if I put her on this one, someone might legitimately kill me. I've watched a lot of great anime over the last decade, but I've definitely seen even more terrible ones. So today, in our second round of celebrations for Mother's Basement's 10th channelversary, we're gonna be ranking the absolute worst of them. A task I take, I won't say no joy in, but certainly less joy than talking about anime I love, which I'd very much like to see more of than I've seen bad ones, and that's why...
I guess, too, since I am trying to make it on YouTube, I'm just going to do that outro really, really quick. So, yeah, that was, okay. That was Mother's Basement's, That was Mother's Basement's top 10 anime of all time. I do have a video of my top 10 anime where I ranked every anime I've watched, but I want to know what's your top 10 favorite anime, or maybe to make it easier, top 3. Let me know down below. As always, thank you for watching. I've been Boog the Goob. May God bless you and peace. All right, got to keep working on that. Through the power of editing, it'll be a-okay. So now we're going to do the intro for the worst animes of all time, and then we're going to rewind it just a little bit. Sorry, bear with me, but it's things I gotta keep in mind when doing this type of stuff. So now that we've seen the worst anime of all time, so now that we've seen the best animes of all time, we're now gonna watch Mother Basement's worst anime of all time. So let me know down below what you guys think. For me, it would have to be like Mako My Day and Yakitori, 2 of the worst animes I've ever seen. So let me know down below. Like and comment if you like videos like this and want to see more, and hop into the stream as well. I should have definitely said that for the other bit, but it's a-okay. And without further ado, let's jump into it. And maybe should I move my camera? Nah, we're fine.
10 years is a long time to be doing anything. For you. Can it, Freerin?
Okay, that's funny a second time.
Good thing, too, because while I stole this joke from a comment on my best of all time list, if I put her on this one, someone might legitimately kill me. I've watched a lot of great anime over the last decade, but I've definitely seen even more terrible ones. So today, in our second round of celebrations for Mother's Basement's 10th channelversary, we're gonna be ranking the absolute worst of them. A task I take, I won't say no joy in, but certainly less joy than talking about anime I love, which I'd very much like to see more of than I've seen bad ones. And that's why my best buds, Tristan, Miles, and I have started a new podcast, The Quest for the Best, to give ourselves an excuse to watch more great anime more often and a place to talk about them on our way to compiling a top 100 list of the greatest anime ever made. To get the
I think definitely when that's finished, I'll check it out and see. Or maybe if you guys are interested enough, I would legitimately try to sit down and think of my top 100 best and worst animes of all time. So we'll see.
All rolling, we started with 3 of our personal all-time favorites, Frieren, Pat Labor 2 the movie, and Bakano. And coming up next, we got Project A-ko, one of the most important, not to mention fun and gorgeous anime movies ever made. That episode drops this Monday, and we'll have a new one for you every Monday after that. You can follow our epic quest by subscribing to the channel linked up there or down in the doobly-doo, or if you'd prefer, you can use all the other links down there to find us at all the usual podcasting places. It's a great podcast, and I honestly think you guys are gonna love it. Plus, I would love to see all of you join us in our journey. But right now,
You know, I mean, with the Trash Taste podcast, it might be worth checking this out. I originally subscribed to that one to listen to anime takes, and that never happened. So maybe a legitimate, actual, we talk about anime podcast might be interesting.
I've got to let the hate flow through me. And make no mistake, this list is about hate. You're not about to see something like King's Game or Garzy's Wing on here, because watching those things doesn't make me hate myself. When a show is truly so bad it's good, I believe that does actually make it good in some way, or at least less than things that just straight up suck. In the right context, the thrill of discovering some new, previously unimaginable way that an anime or film's creators f***ed up beyond all comprehension can completely replace or even surpass.
I'm trying to think of like any other than the obvious ones, like anime where I'm just like, I do not enjoy it. Like, let me check to see if I've dropped my dropped anime, and maybe that'll ring some bells. There was one where there's like the magical high school prodigy, and it was like cybernetics and magic or something like that. I dropped that one because that was just not very good. I have 11 dropped. Okay, these are not officially dropped. I'll go to my score real quick. I'm trying to just refresh my mind of like, what are some truly bad anime? Some of these I just haven't, or plan to watch and haven't seen. So I'm quickly running to the score. Yeah, Make of My Day, Yakitori. The Mobile Suit Gundam Requiem, that was awful. Whisker Away, that was awful. Jibate, or however you pronounce it, also awful. It's like this weird bug anime original, super, super bad. Drop Terminator Zero, we never finished that either. Tokyo Revengers, I dropped that. I thought that one was awful as well. Just a really stupid story. But otherwise, like, it's never been just because it's so bad that except for a couple of these were so bad I had to drop it. But it wasn't due to like any material that was like, oh, this is too much for me. Like, let's say Goblin Slayer shocked a lot of people. It just wasn't good. So I'm gonna be very curious to see what his worst animes are and why they are that way.
Any conventional entertainment value that thing loses from being objectively terrible. Number 10, Rent a Girlfriend is the polar opposite of that.
Okay, we're already starting off at a weird spot. I think what was that with the two sisters? Now I gotta look that up real quick. Not Rent a Girlfriend, but Oh, what was it called? Anime where guy dates step sister and teacher. Domestic Girlfriend. I think that's a worse show than Rent a Girlfriend. This show. Yeah. I think way worse, Domestic Girlfriend than Rent a Girlfriend. But that's just me.
Anime, so good, it sucks. The animation and art direction, acting, and music are legitimately quite impressive, but all I can think as I drink in those luscious production values, or the manga's fantastic art for that matter, is what a colossal goddamn waste of human potential this whole cash grab harem treadmill is. Just imagine if all of this acting talent and moe craftsmanship had been poured into waifus with even a hint of likable personality. Besides, Mami Nanami, of course, who is entirely valid for hating everyone else in the show.
I think this is just I mean, there's a lot of controversy around this anime, and a lot of drama it caused, mainly because I think of what happens in the manga, but it is definitely, this is already a crazy list, and we're at number 10.
Especially Kazuya, the walking twitlonger with zero redeeming qualities and even less sex appeal, whose very existence condemns everyone around him to an eternity of nothing ever happening. And because of that problem, the parts of Rent a Girlfriend that are unironically kinda good, like episode 1 or most of season 3, somehow end up feeling even worse. Because
I mean, I've only watched season 1, and that was when it first came out. Never bothered with season 2 or 3, but it was all right. I think I rated it like a 5 or a 6. It wasn't that bad.
those are the bait that pulls you into the trap and keeps you from escaping it until it's far too late. Here you are thinking, yes, it's finally paying off. Chizuru's really digging into her hopes and dreams, showing us what makes her tick. Kazuya's proven his value as a man and romantic partner. There's finally like a story with goals for the characters to work toward instead of shit just kind of happening because they needed 20 minutes of waifu for you to stare at. It took a while, but this anime is going somewhere, man. And then that somewhere is this.
Well, that's a copyright strike, probably. Thanks for that.
Rent a Girlfriend lower than 10th place because, objectively speaking, it is a competently made anime that mostly just sucks on a spiritual level. But let me...
I think I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it is a problem, but it's just the fact that... How do I word this without saying the wrong words? I think it's because it just promotes a lot of Japanese interest where it's guys watching the girl date another guy, and I think that's why it's such a huge problem.
Put it this way. If you put a gun to my head and said, watch SAO now or die, I'd full dive into that shit with zero hesitation.
And you know what? I rewatched Sword Art Online, probably 4 or 5 years ago. It wasn't as bad as I remembered it being, but it definitely wasn't that great. But again, it was kind of genre defined, so...
It's not great, but it's dumb fun. If you did the same thing with Rent...
I never did get into after I watched the one with the female protagonist, the Gun Gale Online, but I never watched after the original Sword Art Online ended. So, Realization or whatever it was called.
To Girlfriend though, I'd probably still watch it. I do have a lot of loved ones who I'd like to see again more than I don't want to see Kazuya. Yeah, more. Yeah. I did really have to think about it, though. I'd also really have to think about ninth place, and I like to think that when I do make my final decision, Yazzie will understand, or she would.
I heard the manga was super great, but I I heard the season 2 was so bad, I didn't even bother watching the first episode. Enjoyed season 1, but again, this is one of the shows that got super inflated and super overhyped, and then unfortunately, it let a lot of fans down.
In a hypothetical universe where a second season of The Promised Neverland got made that completely ruined everything and butchered the entire back half of the manga. She might even take the bullet with me. I mean, season 1, the only season, was the anime that finally convinced her yaoi and mecha loving ass to give literally any Shonen Jump series besides Haikyuu a shot. And in that hypothetical universe, she would have developed Shonen Jump related trust issues so severe that it would have taken her years to finally give Jujutsu Kaisen, her favorite anime and manga ever, a real shot. Luckily, we don't live in that universe. But that does mean that I do have an inexplicable blank space in ninth place on this list.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, season 1 was great. It had a compelling concept and a compelling story. But even with how good season 1 was, it is definitely not a 10 out of 10. I would say probably if there was just solely season 1, 6 or 7. It's still not that great.
Which I'm now gonna have to fill by hyping you up about the worst anime I haven't finished watching yet. From the statistically worst anime director to ever do it, Yoshiteru Sato. A director who isn't a director at all, in fact, but rather the vice president of a video game company called Idea Factory, who stood up in a board meeting one day back in 1999 and said, "Hey, why do we need to hire an anime director to adapt our games? I like anime. How hard can it be?"
Let's finish this freak off! Come on! Now you demon scumbag!
I don't know about you guys, but that looks so bad, it just could be interesting.
The Idea Factory collection ranges from Terabad short film recaps of already not very good strategy RPGs, like that clip you just saw, to literally just all of the cutscenes from an awful visual novel crammed onto a DVD for no apparent reason. None of them are good. Some barely qualify as anime to begin with, and Sato made a shocking amount of them for a man with literally no talent or prior experience. Which is why I still have a lot of work to do on that particular roast and like half an entire TV show to watch, and it's gonna be a minute before that finally comes out because all of those things are a real
It
slog.
looks
But
crazy.
I do hope that you'll look forward to it when it's done, in the same way that you are looking forward to a season of The Promised Neverland, season 2. That's gonna happen eventually, right? Because it hasn't happened yet, but it could happen eventually. And, you know, hopefully when it does come out, it's gonna make up for this spot on the list being inexplicably blank. I don't know how that happened. I'm sorry. Speaking of things I wish I could take back, though, 6 years and 9 months ago, I declared that the Master of Ragnarok and Blesser of Einherjar was the worst isekai.
I haven't even heard of this show, so unless it's the smartphone one but I'm not entirely sure.
And I was objectively correct, but only for like 2 months. For little did I realize that the shambling husk of Studio Gonzo was about to release one of its final corpse farts in the form of a zero-effort tie-in anime for a low-effort remake of Conception, the mediocre PSP Persona knockoff in which you knocked up your social links, including your own cousin, then used your own children in battle as Pokemon.
That sounds that sounds pretty bad. That sounds crazy. But you got to give props. It does sound very unique. Not that I would necessarily watch it, but
As child abuse simulators go, the game itself is fine. I can't really think of literally any reason for a person to play it, even back in 2012 when Persona 3 Portable had already existed for an entire year. But like, there is something refreshing about an isekai that just cuts out the middleman and makes its protag save the world by fucking a bunch of random waifus, or, you know, do a magic get pregnant ritual off screen with a bunch of waifus, because the dictates of console gaming basically force this to be a pseudo ecchi for cultureless cowards. At least those waifus are cute, though. In the game, I mean, where they were drawn by the ReZero artist, not after what Gonzo did to them. This isn't quite the studio's ugliest anime, at least not on the outside. Tri-Nights is a thing, after all. Ooh, sweet Jesus, Kunin moves!
That looks like Blue Lock Season 2.
But on the inside, I mean, take all the problems inherent to adapting just the bare-bones dating sim bits of a story designed to be carried by an entire supplementary dungeon crawler, add an excruciatingly awkward lack of chemistry with waifus who are only PG-13 boning protag-kun because it's their destiny or whatever, multiply that by the death throes of a company 3 years out from hawking NFTs just to keep the lights on, and divide it all by the number of jokes which are actually funny, and oh no, it was zero. Zero of the jokes in this harem isekai parody comedy anime are funny. And the least funny part, by far, is Mana, Protag-kun's horny talking raccoon wing woman, who in all my years of professional...
I don't know why Japan does it, but they do have this thing where they just have super annoying mascots. And I don't know why. And they always have the same super high, frilly, annoying voice.
Anime enjoyment has only been surpassed in her annoyingness by one other aggravating cartoon mascot thing. She sings...
Oh, I don't want to pause on that. Like, Genshin Impact's Paimon, or... That's kind of the quickest example I can think of.
Levels up this boring, sauceless slog of an isekai into actual torture, which only gets more severe with each passing episode, though thankfully there are only 12 of those, so it could be a lot worse. It could be number 7.
One of the biggest letdowns that I experienced watching anime. Really enjoyed, I think the first season was actually... At the time, I probably thought it was like a 7 or an 8. Now, retrospectively looking at it, it was more like a 4 or 5, knowing what was to come, but it had its definite cool moments. The opening was actually really good as well, but it just went downhill, and some of the animation really dropped the ball. So, this is super disappointing. Talk about disappointment category that he just had. I think this was peak disappointment.
Deadly Sins.
Oof. And this guy, Escanor, he was supposed to be like the coolest of the cool. And they did the show so dirty. And yet, they still try to do mobile games. And even on the Xbox showcase that I watched yesterday, or yesterday's stream, they're still shilling for this series. And they had so much money, and they gave this quality.
Now, some out there might accuse me of only ranking Nanatsu no Taizai higher than those other 3 crappy anime just so I could make that terrible joke, but rest assured, if anything,
And they made a spin-off. They made, or a continuation of this series as well, which is, I think, equally as bad. So...
putting it lower on the list than it should be just so I could make that terrible joke. If that hypothetical gunman came back right now, I would pull the trigger for him. Throughout my entire decade-long career, I have never, I mean never, had less fun watching anime than I did binging this crap after you guys voted for me to roast it. Admittedly, part of that is on me. I am never watching 100 episodes of anything in a week ever again.
They have over 100 episodes. That is insane.
And to be fair, the first 20 were mid, but a very mindlessly enjoyable kind of mid. Then the next 15 or so were a thoroughly passable kind of mid. The 17 after that, a mind-numbing sort of mid that you push through, mostly because you vaguely remember enjoying the show one.
You just get more and more brain damage the more you watch it, and just more disappointed. I stopped probably at like the 25, 30 episode mark when it just really got convoluted and stupid.
At some point many years ago, and you hope to one day get back there again. Then the 24 that follow those slowly but surely choke that hope out of you down to the very last drip, squeezing just a little harder with each passing plot beat as the lore falls apart before your
Or maybe I did watch more of this than I think I did.
eyes, and each hero's backstory in turn reveals that every single one of them is a worse monster than the last, until you can scarcely remember a time in your entire life, let alone during this binge sesh, where you ever felt anything at all, and you legitimately can't decide whether it's funnier to tweet 7 deadly frames or 7 deadly sex offenders. But hey, you're over the hump by that point. There's only 24 more episodes left to go, and you've invested so much time in this story already. There's got to be some kind of payoff waiting for you at the end. I mean, how much worse could it possibly?
How dare you think that you can defy a mountain? Ha, really? I blow away mountains for breakfast.
Oh,
That can't be real. That is awful.
okay, so we're just doing the entire final boss fight twice, are we? Like, repeating every plot beat in the same order, only he possesses a palette-swapped version of Meliodas the second time, and you really thought we wouldn't notice what you were doing there, and then that still wasn't enough to pad the whole anime out, so you trot out this random bonus boss we've never heard of who just shows up to fight everyone until there's exactly 24 episodes worth of content. Holy shit, dude, you're making Reiji Miyajima look like he respects my time. After all that, it almost feels like a footnote to say that the worst mascot thing I've ever seen also happens to be in this anime. And what's really crazy is the walking power level and bad joke dispenser isn't even the worst character, cause goddamn Gother exists. But speaking of insufferable animals and actual literal sex criminals, the 6th worst anime I've ever suffered through is My Life as Inukai-san's Dog. The anime about a teenage virgin who inexplicably turns into a puppy, then gets adopted by his hot classmate who turns out to
I mean, how bad can this be, you know?
like dogs a little too much.
Okay,
now, you
never
might
mind.
hear all that and assume that the core problem with Inukai-san's Dog is that it's an anime which aired on television somehow about a teenage girl really wanting to fuck her dog. And that is part of it, a big part even. But the bigger problem is the complete and utter lack of literally anything else. Here we have a chilling sci-fi setting in which someone out there has figured out how to manipulate the human genome and turn people into animals against their will, and yet every line of every scene of every episode is just about dog fucking. There is not a single problem in the Inukai-verse that cannot be solved by fucking a dog. Bored and lonely? Fuck a dog. Miss your childhood friend who turned into a dog? Obviously you gotta go fuck that dog.
Okay, never mind. That is pretty crazy. But I heard the manga was like super duper popular, so I don't know. Take that with what you will.
Scared of dogs? Fuck a dog, you'll get right over it. Even when the mysterious masterminds behind the scenes finally tip their hand, revealing the full extent of their sinister conspiracy, just take a wild guess what the cure for being turned into a dog is. It's easy to dismiss Inukai as basically just a hentai that got on TV somehow, but frankly, sir, that is an insult to hentai. Hentai has plots, characters, lore, high-concept geopolitics, magic systems that are fueled by fucking many different things.
It's art.
This is mindless gooner slop of the lowest order. And to see the difference, you need look no further than last season's much better anime about an elf who really wants to fuck her cat.
You know, I did a manga short about this, and he's not wrong, but he's not entirely right. I guess I didn't read that far, but I actually heard a lot of people like this anime a lot more than the previous one.
Or Or you can just watch The Last Hottest Trash if that's too cultured for you to handle. But all of this begs the question, we're only halfway down this list. What could possibly be worse than Inukai? You'll find out in just a sec after this word from our sponsor date.
Yeah, that's a super cool sponsor.
Also join as A-Rank W Engine, a stores. But
there we
getting
go.
Back to the anime atrocities, the question still remains, what could possibly top the horrors we just witnessed? How about an anime made to literally ruin people's lives? Or heck, why not? 10 of them.
I'm Helen Keller.
What?
Now, we had our fun in this
Wait a second. Wait a second.
basement.
That's crazy. This is the blind lady. How can, okay. You know what? That, insane. I was not expecting that.
Mocking the happy science movies and the man who made them, Ryuho Okawa, who's dead now.
God is dead! God is dead!
Or, if you listen to his worthless grifter kids, he's in a deep spiritual trance from which he will one day awaken and usher in a new golden age for humanity just as soon as his supporters have raised enough millions of dollars.
That is so messed up. Not only did he have his work just made fun of by everyone, now his kids are trying to prop it off of him and mess everything up. Oh, it's a rough world out there sometimes.
And hey, whatever he's got going on, it hasn't stopped him from executive producing a brand new anime due out this very month, which you better believe I'm making some content out of as soon as it's translated, just for the chance to dance on his grave one more time. And when I do, I hope that his family sees it and it really hurts their feelings. Because and this is something that can be lost in all the fun making of those roast videos. These are propaganda pieces designed to literally brainwash children.
So it's like a Scientology but anime version. Kind of interesting.
The other anime on this list may be bad, but these ones are actually evil. Of course, I'm not ranking anime on their moral standing, but technical and artistic merits, and in those respects, Happy Science's output is fine, certainly better produced than what American
What is that?
brainwash their kids, and most seasonal isekai for that matter. It's the movie's stories, for the most part, that merit all the mockery, as they oscillate between being batshit insane and just insanely boring. And the boringest of the bunch by far is The Golden Laws. You know, the one with the kids in the time machine going to learn a bunch of lies about religious figures throughout history, which also happens to be the ugliest of those movies, since it was made in that awkward transitional period between traditional and digital animation by a studio so far past their prime they were taking work from cults just to keep the lights on, which I don't know if that's worse or better than NFTs, or maybe it's the exact same. Anyway, if I had to pick just one of these movies as the absolute worst to represent them all, I guess it'd be that one, and that one is just bad enough to come in at number 5.
Man, I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense that, well, I mean, there's propaganda everywhere, right? I mean, and if cults have enough money, it makes perfect sense that they would create, I guess, their most popular medium in Japan, which would be anime, to then try to push their own religion or cult or whatever.
Because for as many people as these films and the organization behind them have hurt over the years, they've never hurt me personally. Unlike an anime that we'll get to in just one sec. But first, I need to clarify something. My best anime ever list was not just my top 10 favorites, despite what some people think. It was an honest attempt to compile and rank the 10 best made anime that I've ever seen. Which
you'll see in another video, or my previous video, or if you're watching the live stream, you've already seen it. You know, it was interesting. Only probably 2 out of the 10 would be on my list.
is still a matter
Maybe
of
3.
personal taste in the end in terms of like what I value most in anime production. Clearly, I prize visual storytelling and animation quality over a lot of other things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that my picks were just the most Jeff Core anime possible. For example, on a favorites list, instead of Cowboy Bebop, I would have expressed my love for peak 90s cell animated sci-fi with Irresponsible Captain Tyler, which, if you haven't seen, one of the best retrospectives I've ever made, low-key, is this goofy space opera about basically a horny Mr. Bean captaining the starship Enterprise in a war with sexy space elves. It's
That could be interesting enough to watch.
amazing, but it's also frustratingly incomplete, especially compared to Bebop. Tyler's anime never got to adapting even half of all the light novels, leaving massive questions hanging as to the ultimate fate of its world and characters, and even how the war shook out. So you can probably imagine my insane levels of excitement when I heard they were finally making a sequel slash spin-off starring the kids of the characters, which lasted until I saw exactly the first frame of Irresponsible Galaxy Tyler.
That's always the worst, when you're super excited for something and then they just butcher it. I'm trying to think of a good example of what that would be right now. I mean, I guess One Punch Man season 2 for a lot of people. You definitely have, for me, a surprise pick to some, it might be Megaloboxing season 2. That was disappointing. Or even a lot of people don't like the second half of Death Note. So, I mean, it happens to the best and it happens to the worst.
That was quite possibly the worst thing that has ever happened to me personally. And my dad is dead. Plenty of fandoms
That is awful.
have been kicked in the teeth by anime studios over the years, but this was like being curb stomped repeatedly. Then they take the boot with your teeth embedded in it and put their full weight directly on your balls. Though,
Man, this guy was really hurt by this show.
as bad as Galaxy Tyler is, at least the whole thing's over in less than half an hour, and the pain it induces is only emotional. All of the anime on this list are ones I'd call hard to watch in one way or another, but nowhere is that description more apt than with number 3. Handshakers. The only anime I know of with the power to literally, no hyperbole, make a person physically ill. Not due to any gross, weird
Well, just wait. There's a AI anime that I think either is airing this season or next season, and it's all going to be AI generated. So it might just take Handshakers for a ride.
stuff in the story. Well, not just that.
弟のこと愛してるって変かしらね。
Mostly it's the motion sickness that does it. See, over at Studio Gohands, they direct their anime a little differently. Where
I mean, they were just super ambitious, right? At the end of the day. And they were like Icarus. They reached for the sun and they got flamed hard.
other studios might zig, they zag, then zag again, then do a little loop-de-loop, ollie into a wall ride, into a front-side manual, and cap it all off with a 360 no-scope.
Because conceptually, I mean, I never watched the series because, I mean, just look at it. But even looking at that sequence, you can see what they're going for, and they unfortunately just fell flat on their face.
And that's just to show a guy walking down a hall. Wait till you see their action scenes. But, maybe take a Gravol before you do. I have seen these motherfuckers, honest to Haruhi, put the camera inside the floor just because they can.
Okay, that is kind of crazy.
And the reason they can is thanks to the experimental digital hybrid over-animation style that they completely failed to implement in Handshakers. With vomit-shaded color grading, non-existent compositing, wildly inconsistent asset scaling, and its 3D and 2D frame rates dizzyingly out of sync with each other.
But, I mean, you really can see what they're trying to go for, so I wouldn't say this is the worst anime. I guess his thing says literally hard to watch, but I mean, you got to give them props. They tried to do something no one else has done, and they failed. So I wonder if a competent studio tried the same thing, how much everyone would be gushing over it.
Shakers clipped into the floor and ragdolled into the sun, so its many younger sister series could one day drunkenly stumble out of a bar and almost make it down all the stairs. And impressively, the show's story is even harder to follow than that action, unless you've seen Fate, in which case, it's literally just Fate. The whole plot's a
No. Fate is good. Don't listen to him. Fate is great.
Grail war with the serial numbers filed off, except instead of historical heroes, the wizards end up teaming up with submissive little bondage pets, amnesiac child brides, their sisters that they're boning, and other such things. Also, they charge their powers up in an even lewder way than the original Fate hentai games.
その力はどこから来るのか。手をつなぐことさ。
But as god-awful as the CGI is, and as bad
Hence why it's called handshakers. That is a crazy thing to pause on. I can see why this makes someone super sick, especially if you have a big screen and it's just zooming all over the place. They gain powers from holding hands.
baffling as the story can be, both sides of Handshakers could still be a lot worse. And you'll see exactly how much as we finally crown the absolute worst anime of all time. Which may sound premature, since if you can count, you know there are 2 numbers below 3. However, I just cannot decide which of my bottom 2 is truly worse than the other, and X-Arm and Jibby8 had so much in common.
Jibby8, again, me and my dad watch a lot of animes, and he loved Jibby8, and I have no idea why. I absolutely did not enjoy it. It's funny but sad.
I figure we may as
X-Arm is such a easy, and Ghost in the Shell are two. These are easy to punch down on and make fun of. So it makes sense.
Talk about them both at the same time and try to figure that out together. On the one hand, we've got a bunch of film industry assholes who stumbled drunkenly into an anime studio one day, boldly declared
that was crazy
that they were going to create a new kind of action never before seen in the medium with their elite live-action directing skills. Furthermore, went on to declare war on literally all of science fiction around the entire planet with their adaptation of a middling Ghost in the Shell knockoff, and then it looked like this.
You know, and the CGI definitely did not help. And I don't think even if it was like regular anime animation, it would have done any better. I mean, already trying to jump into the anime community as a pretentious film director and you're going CGI. I think the only actual legitimate CGI piece of anime that kind of pulled it off was Berserk, the Golden Age arcs. And that wasn't the greatest. I'm sure it would have been better if it was drawn by like a top tier company like maybe Mappa or something like that. But at least the Golden Age arcs were good. Otherwise, as far as CGI goes, Kengan Ashura wasn't bad. It's not the greatest, but I mean, I at least enjoyed the series enough to watch it all the way through. And actually, believe it or not, the drawn stuff was, I'd say, worse than the competent CGI they had. So there is definitely ways to make it work, but at least do your research before jumping into something, you know? that is crazy though.
On the other hand, we're forced to watch in very, very slow real time as the infinite possibility of an original anime story is.
I think we got 2, maybe 3 episodes in, and it was awful, at least for me. Again, my dad enjoyed it, but I'm kind of glad we jumped into watching something else.
Utterly squandered by a screenwriter with negative talent, while a team of elite Japanese artisans, whom the entire project was supposedly made to celebrate, have their swords and dolls and character designs utterly butchered beyond recognition by the studio that would one day give us In Another World for a second time. And somehow that was an improvement? Actually, it's not a mystery how that happened. The Nepo Baby screenwriter is also the lead producer, and he is equally skilled in that role.
I mean, just look at that. It's insane how people sat in a boardroom and were like, yeah, this is a great idea. This looks great. I guess even if it is, well, I guess in Japan or in any business sense, if you just had the boss man or the boss man's son being like, "We're doing this and I love this," it's like, well, whatever you say, boss. But actually, thinking about it, you know what was another huge disappointment? Record of Ragnarok. It was literally PowerPoint animation. And the manga, peak easily 8, 9, 10 manga. And they butchered that as well. I haven't even watched the second or third. I heard it got slightly better, and for some reason a lot of people enjoy it, but Record of Ragnarok, that's another one I was thinking of that's just disappointing.
It's honestly impossible to decide which of these to hate more. It's apples to oranges, or like projectile vomit to projectile diarrhea.
Do you want just pure bad CGI, or do you want really bad drawings with CGI?
And the fact that they were both in production at the same time, for the same platform, under the same branding, does leave me feeling a little tempted to just give the entire top slot to Crunchyroll Originals as the norovirus of anime and call it a day. But as clever as that insult is, and as much as I'd like to make space to hate on Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammers anime again, it just wouldn't be fair to all the other legitimately good shows that came out of the program, or even the mediocre ones, frankly.
Also, another mid show, God Up High School. It was supposed to be like top high tier manhwa, like hand in hand with Solo Leveling. And even Solo Leveling's dropped the ball. So, I mean, I guess is it the original material that was the problem, or is it just in the hands of the wrong people and we just have to deal with it?
So we gotta pick one, and that's ultimately a choice between an anime that does basically everything terribly versus one that's a bit more of a mixed bag, but
I mean, look at that. You got CGI right here and regular hand drawn, and they thought that was a good idea.
does one specific thing worse than literally anything else in history. X-Arm is at least built around the skeleton of a competent story. The manga's best quality by far is its highly detailed Gunnar core art, but it also has, if not great characters, then at least appealing character archetypes, plus a comprehensible story with a beginning, middle, and end, which you might say is a low bar to clear, but tell that to Gibiate. I don't see X-Arm being anyone's favorite manga, but it's certainly the sort of thing I can see having fans who would be excited for an anime. And of course, the flip side of the manga's quality is the same problem that Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer and that anime that doesn't exist in 9th place have. That decent story has been done dirty by a terrible adaptation, which forever precludes the possibility of a better one existing. And obviously, X-Arm's story is nowhere near on the level of The Promised Neverland or a Satoshi Mizukami manga, but on the flip side, neither of those anime did their source material anywhere near this dirty. I mean, Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer didn't, because, you know, The Promised Neverland couldn't have, because it never had a second season. Point is, as manga adaptations go, X-Arm was done the dirtiest ever.
I mean, it was that, and then I wonder if I don't want to get copyright strike, but in your own time, look up like Ghost in the Shell clip or something like that, and then it's like a literally in the show 20-30 seconds of just constant backflips. It is ridiculous. It's gonna sound really bad and this could ruffle a lot of feathers. It reminds me of Ruby when it first started, like just the online web funding of it.
It's got all the problems you'd expect to see in a live-action director's debut anime. Storyboards hopelessly constrained by the limits of reality and the fundamental misunderstanding of how to time animation chief among them, compounded by the show using the most difficult
That lots of crazy frames. I might just have to watch this for a laugh.
animation process to get right, further compounded by a team of film and game industry dudes who know even less about 3D CG anime than most 2D animators. And if that's not enough compounding for you, they made it at the height of COVID on a Crunchyroll Originals budget. X-Arm is, by a massive margin, the worst rigged, modeled, and animated 3D CG I have ever seen on television, and I grew up on Monster by mistake. But speaking of monsters and mistakes, the monsters in Gibiate do almost give X-Arm a run for its terrible CGI money.
Very true, very true.
In the little but still way too much time they spend on screen. And that is just the tip of a gargantuan shitberg. The show's 2D animation and art direction is equally atrocious, taking Yoshitaka Amano's distinctive character designs and simplifying them in a way that doesn't actually make them any easier to animate, while
But it does look better than X-Arm, so I'll give it that.
still robbing them of all their charm. Not a single one of the characters behind those designs is remotely likable. The story is borderline incomprehensible, and the backstory / lore is legitimately some of the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life.
It's literally two criminals on a boat get like transported into the future where all these bug insect things take over. Maybe they were summoned if I remember correctly, but that's the basic plot.
Gibiate is an anime with infinite shortcomings and zero redeeming qualities, which probably should make it the cut and dry winner or loser of this competition, but it's facing off against a show that comes up so short in one specific area that I'm not sure any other quality could redeem it. And X-Arm doesn't have a lot of qualities to begin with, especially not when the story gets into anime original territory. At the end of the day, they're both fundamentally unwatchable 0 out of 10 shows, either of which could proudly wear this crown. But when I imagine that gun to my head, the thought of watching Gibiate again does make me want to die just a little bit more, so I guess that's the worst one. But
He has not seen Yakitori or Mako My Day. I mean, at least story-wise, they were both very bad. But I haven't seen all of X-Arms, or I haven't even seen X-Arms. This is the most I've seen of it.
I would love to hear your opinions on which is worse in the comments down below. Anyway, thank you for watching this video and all the old ones to make my suffering a little more worth it. If you want to see me not suffer for a change, remember to check out.
Well, alrighty then. So, what can I do? I'll go here real quick. We'll kind of just go over my top 10 just to make it a little more fun and interesting for my best anime. And then I guess we'll go over my maybe top 10 ones. So we're just going to go over my score. If you want to see a more in-depth version, I'll post a link up above and in the description. So I think before... Okay, I'm surprised I did that actually. I did, since I have... I think over 400. Can I see how many I have? I'm going to scroll all the way down again. I know I just scrolled all the way up. Okay, we are very excited for that Chainsaw Man movie. We just got to go a little bit up. The planned. Gotta watch. There's so many shows I still gotta watch. And you know what the messed up part is? When I made this video, I'm like, I'm going to watch more anime. I barely watched anymore. So that's too bad. Okay, score 333. Where's number 1? Okay. I've watched probably, let's say 500. Just to make it a nice number. Or 480. So because I watched that many, I reserved 4 10 out of 10s. And then if I watched 500, that would be 5 10 out of 10s, etc. So now going down the line from Mother Basement's top 10, this is going to be my top 10. So, and then again, in no particular order, the Fate Zero specifically, but Fate franchise as a whole, I thought was very, very good. Great story, interesting characters, great concept. Can't enjoy it enough. I was thinking about rewatching it as well. What was my originally kind of like a joke pick, but a show I keep going back to, and I mean, I even made it one of the characters as my banner, is Future Diary. I thought it was a compelling enough story. Openings were bangers, and all in all, just a really fun watch. Even watching it multiple times, there's still things you pick up on. And then I'm not counting Vinland Saga Season 2. This is just Vinland Saga as a whole. Probably, I think, one of the greatest adult gateway animes to get into, where it's just a remarkable story. It's one of the shows me and my dad bonded over. Great message. I'd say on par with Berserk in quality wise. And even though people aren't crazy about season 2 because it's not as violent as season 1, I think they just kind of missed the whole point. Where it's just a progression of it's just so much wrapped into one. I could gush and gush about it, but really great series. So that's number 3. And then number 4, Delicious in Dungeon. Again, like I said earlier, huge triggerhead. I thought they did a really great job for first season. Very excited for season 2. I hear it even gets crazier. Animation was on point. It was funny. It was heartwarming. It was action was still even great. So yeah. So that's number 4. Neon Genesis Evangelion, The Thinker's Man show. Just love the concept, love the design, the color scheme, lots of great things. Again, counting Rebirth, the movies and everything like that as well. We're gonna skip Princess Mononoke movie, probably one of the greatest anime movies of all time. So now number 6, there we go, is Hajime no Ippo. I think the greatest sports anime. Shame it's not adapted all the way, but it's still really, really good. Great motivation. Even though the animation is a little dated, it still holds up for its time. Still great twists and turns and just really fun. And the openings and endings are both really good as well. Black Lagoon, number 7. Again, still no particular order. I think it kind of fits the Cowboy Bebop, maybe even Baccano, where it's just a ragtag group of people doing great things. Unfortunately, it wasn't adapted or finished, but with what I got, still wanted more, and it was still really great. So that's number 7. Number 8, Afro Samurai. Again, and I think actually another great gateway series to get into. It's super short, I think in total 5 hours long. Studio Gonzo, which was mentioned in I think both of Mother Basement's videos. Really great revenge story. Lots of great action. Yeah. So I didn't do a top 10 order. I'm just going down the list, but that's still fine. Code Geass, one of the greatest anime endings of all time. Great mech design. Really kind of peaked what the Gundam studio could do when it was given its own original story, and I mean, it's still talked about to this day as well. And then Gurren Lagann, number 10. Super hype. I guess I gotta move down a little bit, but you can see it up here. Super hype, great series, one of the most emotional series. It gets you motivated every time. It's just an awesome watch. Maybe I will actually, thinking about this video or the videos I watched, do a redo or like a proper top 10 list. I don't think I've done that yet. So that could be interesting. Let me know down below. And then we'll go to my top 10 worst. So bear with me for a second. Okay. We are in the plan to watch. We got to get to 1. Okay, yeah. So like I said, we're going to move down that Mobile Suit Gundam Requiem for Vengeance. Watched it on Netflix. It was absolutely horrible. And the whole point of this series, or the whole message they were trying to put across, they just blew it in the last episode. Yakitori, I just really didn't enjoy the animation. And the story was kind of interesting in concept-wise, but again, it just kind of ends in this weird way, and it just wasn't very good. Make of My Day, I had high hopes for because it was a Gundam director, and it was kind of an interesting concept where like you're on this ice planet and aliens invade. But it was just horrible to watch, and the story wasn't all that great. So it was just so stupid. Record of Ragnarok, again, PowerPoint presentation. Manga, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10. It was super duper good. Um, yeah, PowerPoint. It was just such a major letdown. Let's see, what else can I do? I mean, Boku no Pico, that's kind of just another one to throw in that everyone hates. It's a, I think it's a guy. No, I don't even want to talk about it. You look it up for yourself. Whisker Away, it was just a really stupid movie. Obviously, Debate, we just saw why it was horrible, and I really agree. Animation, story, all pretty bad. Um, what are some other bad ones? Megaloboxing Season 3, that was bad. Tokyo Revengers, I dropped it just because it was stupid. So I think that's what's 6 or 7. The Junji Ito collection, that was a major letdown and disappointment. Big Junji Ito fan. He does a lot of horror manga, and it was just very lackluster. Um what's another maybe 2 or 3 I can mention that are like just awful anime? Baki versus Kengan Ashura, that was a major disappointment. I mean, obviously it could only end in one way to not make any of the fan base angry. So that even though it's a movie, that can be my number 9. I was very disappointed with that. Um, hmm, 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 hmm. Doro Hey Doro had a lot of potential, but it's not finished yet. But I hope they're gonna make more. I'm looking for like one more like, oh yeah, this was just truly. There we go, Terraformers. Season 2 of Terraformers. It turned into like this weird slice of life comedy where the whole point of it is supposed to be giant insects and fighting them. First season was great, but then it dropped the bomb. So I would uh I would put that there. All right. So that was excuse me just one second. So that was Mother Basement's top 10 worst anime. And I agree with some of it, and I think there's worse animes out there. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down below what are the worst animes, or if you think the ones I mentioned or he mentioned were actually good. Um, and let me know if you want me to do like my top 10 anime or, you know, top worst animes, but more in depth than what I did today. And any other video ideas you have, or if you like content like this of me kind of reacting and talking to it, or not talking to it, reacting and giving my commentary on videos. Hopefully, I did both of them justice by at least doubling the length. I think in total we had an hour and 30 minutes, and we're almost at a 3-hour stream, so maybe it's not too bad. But with that, I've been Boog the Goob. And with that, I've been Boog the Goob. May God bless you, and no, jeez, this is crazy. Okay, one more time. I've been Boog the Goob. Thank you for watching. May God bless you, and peace. But we can't end the stream here, so we got to do just a little bit more. So give me 1 second. Did I not change it this whole time? No. Okay, I'm good. Never mind. I'm just psyching myself out now. Let me go to Twitch. And we are going to raid. Okay. Now we're in the just chatting section because originally, I'll go back to this for now. Originally, I was thinking of playing Elden Ring, but then I thought with how long the videos are, it would probably consist of the whole stream. And I would say I was pretty much right. Normally, I'd say on average I go to 12:30, but I got some stuff I need to do tomorrow, and I kind of want to edit what I just did into 2 videos now. Um, so now I guess we gotta just figure out where to go. All right. So again, it's not gaming we're gonna be looking at. It's just chatting. First IRL stream come through, playing NBA, 13 minutes. Apparently that person reads, responding to. Well, I don't even know. I'm sure if I want to repeat that. Revealing my identity to meet my Oshi. Yeah, okay, what can go wrong? Recording new music, late night coding. Oh, they're playing Expedition 33, so I might follow behind them. You know what? Let's boost well, I don't know. Day 21, I don't know of what. That guy has a new model. Let's go viewers low to high. And then maybe it'll refresh and then we can get something. Community, small streamers. Okay, this is not. It's not. Okay, there we go. For some reason, he's got 2 streams going on, which is kind of weird. Let's see. Day 5 reacting with the homies. Community, straw stream. Who should we raid? Let's talk about everything. Just chatting is like a whole different game compared to what I like gaming. It's a little easier to pick out gamers. Interesting art. Oh, okay. I do know that artist. Never mind. Man, this is hard. They don't tell you about this of who to raid, you know? He's not saying I don't want to toot my own horn, but I am proud of the subscribers I do have on YouTube, and I hope one day this will help. But I don't want to pick the wrong person in it to bite me in the back, you know? Which is a bad way to think about it, but let's go. You know what? The prosthetic one caught my eye. That sounds interesting. If I can find it again. Let's see what they're about real quick. Nah. No offense to them, but it's not what I thought it would be. You know what? We're gonna go uptime, low to high. That should help. Gaming channel reruns, first IRL stream. Let's see what this guy's up to. Is he just going through YouTube videos?
You know what, fucking chat, we doing that. We doing it, chat. We doing it, bro. Chat. I'm gonna stream 12 tomorrow, which is my time.
Okay, well he's ending stream, so that's bad luck.
Do stuff.
Okay, back at it again. We'll get there. Dun, 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 dun. Australian. Okay, just because I'm curious, let's check out their Nike stream real quick.
Excited for Eve.
Okay, they're not doing what I thought they would be doing. Man, this is a tough choice tonight, folks. Sorry about this. You know what? As some would say, you don't always have to raid. So take that as you saw some channels and maybe one of them caught your eye. And this is the first time. This is kind of my shortest stream. I think my longest was 4.5 hours. I can go check real quick just to kind of beep this up a little bit more. Let's see. 3 hours, 40 minutes, 4 hours, 9 minutes, 3:20, 4:28, 4:15. Oh, I'm wrong. There's a 9-minute stream, but we don't count that. Yeah. So I gotta think of more ideas, and maybe next time I will just play Elden Ring after this. But I kind of wanted to make it a little more special and unique. Great opportunity for anyone who watches this in the VODs or whatever. Maybe give me some ideas on what I can do afterwards, or maybe some fun, interesting ideas. So, without out of the way again, I'm just gonna say to you guys now, and not in a video scripted. But truly, thank you for watching. I did get some interesting comments today, which you know, um, they weren't the nicest at the end. I think he was just trying to get my goat, which is fine. It's to be expected. So it does make me think that I should probably mute my uh, kick chat because I realized it's pretty uncensored, or maybe it won't show up, but then I got to figure out a way to view it, and I don't know, or I don't want to censor too much, but we'll figure it out. What else? You know what? To beef it up just a little bit more, maybe make it to the 3 hour point. Tomorrow, maybe I'll put on some. No, I won't put on some music. I'll just, you know what? We'll just practice some just chatting. Why not? And I'll put you on full screen, so I'm just staring at you and you're staring at me. So tomorrow I got yard work, and that's essentially going to be some weed eating, lawn mowing, and maybe riding a tractor. So that'll be fun to look forward to. I'm really thinking of moving that and I could put those 3 posters there. That might not be a bad idea. That would beef up the wall a little bit. And then I can do some noise reduction on the side of my front door. Because that door leads to a closet, essentially. So I could do that as well. Hopefully the audio was better. I got to work on actually hitting the record button, and I did not do that. Even though I set it up today, but it is what it is. Got to deal with blackberry bushes, and then I got to get back on my exercise routine. At least consistently every day, I've been doing 60 push-ups, 50 weighted sit-ups, and I guess I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's when you put your arms behind your back and then use that weight to lift yourself up instead of your legs. So, but I used to work out with weights every day, and I've just been busy doing either yard work or trying to grind YouTube out. I also got to work on my shorts as well. But we keep grinding. This is kind of, in a way, how do I say this? Kind of my last full commitment to content creation is to see how kind of this era of content creation goes. And depending on how well it goes is how much I'll continue. Otherwise, it might just turn into an occasional hobby. But I've been enjoying streaming so far. For the most part. There's ups and downs to everything. Like, for instance, I am kind of staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning, which was not the case before. Because then I'm working on stuff afterwards. But it's still fun. Because otherwise I wouldn't be doing it, right? So, again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate you watching. And yeah, tomorrow we'll probably be beating Elden Ring Night Rain. So look forward to that. As always, again, thank you for watching. And peace.